did you ever find your headphones?
Yes, I did find them actually.
Who do you think hid them? Who do we need to fight?
What were you saying?
I said now that you've got your headphones on. Who do we need to fight? Who do we think hid them? Where were they?
So Jeff Walker definitely came into the studio and took my headphones.
If you had given me one guess, 100% Jeff Walker.
Yep.
100%. All right, Jeff Walker. You come in, sometimes you just barge in, you're like, hey, I'm here. And I'm like, cool, like, what are you doing here? Which is fine, Jeff's a delight, but can you please leave my guy's headphones alone? He's a professional radio producer, he's got things to do.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you.
You're welcome.
My favorite story is, I think we were playing Cincinnati. Was it Cincinnati?
That's not what depends on the story, but maybe we were playing Cincinnati.
So Logan catches this touchdown.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was Cincinnati. Yep.
It was Cincinnati. So we put in this play, and it was like, I think we called it Hoss Juke or something like that. I can't remember what we called it in that offense, but Logan's on a scene, right? So.
It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Hope that you are having yourselves a fantastic Friday, one that you can spend with us all the way up until the game begins tonight. That is right. Tonight at 7:30 is your kickoff on NBC4, and Brian Mitchell, who is on the call, is going to join us later in this here radio program. So, Anthony Haney, we got a game to talk about. We don't have another one for 10 days, by the way, which really stinks. How did we wind up with that schedule?
I mean, I think the two practices next week, the joint practice, I want to serve as kind of games just because it's going to be so much to take from them.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. There's definitively something to that. There's definitively something to I mean, in some ways, those practices are more important than the games. But it's just a weird schedule that it's like, all right, first game, Friday, August 11th. Second game, not until Monday, December 21st. By the way, on that game day, we will also be with you until 7:30 that particular day. But I think when we start talking about what we're actually looking forward to tonight, it is very, very simple on the offensive side of the ball to start. I do want to get into some of the guys that we'll see more of, the third stringers, so what we might see from Jake Fromm and company, if there's anybody that, say, Jake Fromm is throwing to that we think has a chance to make the team. So we'll get into some of that and some of the O-line stuff and whatever. But when the first-team offense is out there, the biggest thing is just the operation. And I know that sounds so incredibly simple and in some ways oversimplified, but it is so, so, so important to get, no pre-snap penalties, to get everybody lined up correctly, and to just know that, okay, with Bieniemy in a new role, with obviously Sam Howell being in a new role, with this new offensive line, can they, do they have the command? Is all this work that they've put in actually paying off in the way that you'd hope? And can they do it when Bieniemy's not yelling at them to get up to the line faster? Do all of a sudden we see a crispness? Because there is something to that. When you watch a Kansas City Chiefs game, their offense doesn't look like this offense the last couple of years. It was so jarring when we watch football on Sundays, and we see the Commanders, you'd watch them from 1 to 4, and then you'd flip on the 4 o'clock games, and you'd have these premier teams, and you're just like, oh, right, that's what offensive football is supposed to look like. And forget the completions and the talent or the good throws versus the bad throws. There was just like a general crispness to all of it that, Anthony, I feel like this team has been missing, and I'm very curious with EB in place if they actually get that right tonight.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head when you talk about crispness. Essentially, this is going to be a performance. Like, they've been putting in all this practice, all this work, and here's the first performance, if I do say so. So yes, I understand we want to be able to see everybody, line up in formation, but also we want to see how Sam does commanding this offense. And I think everybody's eyes are on Sam Howell, how he responds to, this pressure, because again, I think a lot of pressure has been put on him to, be the guy for us, to lead us through this season. So also how he comes out, whether or not, he's rattled, he's nervous, things of that nature. How does he respond? I think that's also what I'm looking for.
Yeah, when he sends guys in motion, do they go to the right place, or is there a bunch of confusion? Is he having to wave people? Do they have to burn timeouts? Like, there's a lot of like just simple, analogously blocking and tackling, but it's not actually, it's the stuff before the blocking and tackling that they can get right tonight that I think is the most important thing / the lowest bar. From there, like, I don't know exactly what we're going to see offensively tonight, but I think it might be a little more exciting than people realize. And that is because the offense here the last couple of years has been so bland. Like, preseason offense, especially here, it's been like handed the ball off, 5-step drop, 3 and out, crapola. And like, you'll see some screens and you'll see like some quick game and you might see a shot, you might see play action. And it just goes to kind of what we've been talking about since OTAs offensively with this team is like, this is fundamentally who they are. They run like a big boy 2023 NFL offense. And, whether it's Sam Howell in the ones, whether it's Jacoby Brissett and whatever conglomerate of people he has, which I think will be a mix of ones and twos. Like, I tend to think Jacoby Brissett's going to have 2 receivers and 1 offensive line, at least for a couple series, because they want to protect him. And this offensive line could bluntly use the reps. Maybe Cornelius Lucas goes in for Charles Leno at left tackle, but everyone else pretty much stays in. I tend to think that, like, we're going to see the play actions. We're going to see the shots. Like, are you going to see the trick play where Curtis Samuel does a backflip, whatever actual thing is going to happen? Are you going to see the ring around the rosy play, the Kansas City run? No, you're not getting that. I don't think you'll get Wildcat. But then again, maybe you are. Like, there's this thought that you can't put anything on tape. Like, there's part of me that's like, put stuff out there, stuff that may or may not be a part of your offense. Like, give Arizona, your week 1 opponent, more to think about. And you get extra reps at it. So I do think that there is a lot of potential for tonight to be exciting and good and functional. And, you get Terry a touch, you get Jahan a touch. What do they do in the running game? I do think this is the first time we also get to see Bieniemy as a play caller. Like, what's the run-pass split? Like, those, to me, are kind of the exciting things about tonight. And I do think there's a little bit more upside, even though there's no game planning compared to what this offense has been, forget in the regular season, but at least in the preseason the past couple of years where it's been very unexciting. Yeah,
also, I think I want to see some more passing plays out of Sam. Again, we got a small sample size in the Week 18 game against Dallas. But I would definitely just love to see how the passing game, how it's going to develop and things of that nature. And also, what about some read option, Craig? Are you open to seeing some of that? Or would you rather, hold off and, maybe we'll table that until, like, the second preseason game or possibly even the third?
I don't know about read option because I don't know that I want to expose Sam to a big hit. But I can see RPO, right? Where, like, hey, man, if you pull it, it better be to throw it. Right? You don't have to, like, typically it's kind of a triple option, a run pass option where it's like you either hand it off, pull it and throw it, or pull it and run it. But you can just have a simple pull it or hand it off. Like, pull it, throw it, or hand it off. And you're reading, in some ways it's actually more common because what you do is you're reading, as opposed to like reading the defensive end and seeing if he crashes and then figuring out like a 2-step read, you literally just read the linebacker. and you're reading kind of the linebacker in the hole where you would throw it. And if he crashes the run, you pull it and you throw it right behind him. If he stays home or is slow, you hand it off and you hope that you have it all blocked up. So I think you can see RPO tonight, and it would be good to get Sam some reps in something that's going to be a big part of your offense. Because that's the thing is, like, for all the fear that goes into the preseason, ultimately this is about preparing for the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
This is about getting the team ready. And for a team in a new offense that hasn't faced anything but their own defense, this is one of 3 opportunities you have. And it's really one of 2 because Rivera's already said they're not playing the last preseason game. So, like, this is it. You might as well go out there and show it, not show everything, not show every possible thing. It's not going to be possible. The number of plays, that alone suggests that there's only so much you can put out there. But at the end of the day, like, I'm very, very, I don't want to say confident, but I'm very, very intrigued and have a higher than it should be level of confidence that tonight will be exciting. Whether it'll be good or not, like, I don't know. Nobody does. It's preseason. But I do think that you will see them move the ball a little bit. I do think that you'll see some of the flashes of the things that has everybody excited. And whether or not they can sustain that and make the necessary adjustments over the course of a regular season and sustain high-level performance as individual players, like, those are all the questions that will determine whether you win games. But tonight, my goal essentially is to see, is the structure in place? And I think offensively, like, you'll get to see a little glimpse of what that looks like tonight.
And one last question. I know Ron Rivera, he talked about it last year, and even to I think it was his exit press conference where he talked about, wanting to run the ball a lot. Do you expect us to, go out there and make it easy on Sam, run the ball, and you allow that to, open up some of the bigger plays down the field?
Yes, I do think that you'll get a decent little dose of running the football tonight. Not a ton, but, like, you will, because they also haven't practiced it a ton. And I think they want it to be a big part of their offense. And so, do they mix it in? You get some of the shotgun runs, you get some of the under center runs. Does one thing set up the next? Like, I think you get a little bit of a taste of that because this is also Bieniemy's first time calling plays into the headset. So, they got to work on all of that. And so the more game-like and realistic it is for Bieniemy, the better. Now, he's going to get a full game. Like, when Sam and Jacoby go to the bench, like, it's not like EB hands the headset off to Vita Pritchard and is like, hey, bro, all right, your turn. No, like, he's calling it. So making sure the communication is good, making sure that they know what they want to do, how they want to do it, and kind of letting EB get into a little bit of a rhythm. He's had that hat on before, but not that headset. Like, he has to think like a play caller with his role in Kansas City, because there were times that Andy would get on the headset and be like, all right, EB, what you thinking here? And he's got to be ready with the play. But now it's like, no, the pressure's on. You got to be ready every play because you got to have one. So it's going to be interesting to see tonight. So that's kind of the offensive setup. What about defensively? And also, who are some of the individuals that we want to see tonight and why? Get into it next here on the Hoffman Show. We're with you till 7:30 tonight on the Team 980, the free Odyssey app, and on YouTube the whole way through at the Team 980.
DC has a new home.
Team 980, always live on the free Odyssey app with you until 7:30 tonight. That's right, all the way up until kickoff of Commanders and Browns on NBC4. If you want to hear from the team that you'll be hearing call the game, we've got you covered all across our platforms. Brian Mitchell joins us from Cleveland coming up at 6 o'clock. And then, of course, Take Command, Logan Paulson. We've been talking all week because he co-hosts the pod with me. He'll be on the call. And then Chick Hernandez on the play-by-play was on Take Command with us earlier this week as well. If you haven't checked that out, I will forgive you if you want to go listen to that podcast. And then just join us right back. The cool thing is with the rewind feature, you can always catch up. So plenty of ways to watch. And also, I say this all the time, but just as a reminder, in case you're like, damn, I really, you're going all the way till 7:30. You want a pregame show because there's not a local pregame show on television anymore, and you want to watch one, open up the YouTube app in your smart TV, and there will be. All you got to do is subscribe. Actually, you don't even have to subscribe. It just makes it easier to search the Team 980, and we're broadcasting live right there. Put us on your smart TV, and it's just like watching a pregame show. So there you go. We're with you till 7:30 tonight. Eric Edholm joins us in 10 minutes, by the way. Get a little bit of national perspective on what he wants to see from the Commanders and look around at some of the other games that are happening week 1 in the NFL preseason. So, Anthony, tonight, highlight a couple players quickly on offense that I'm looking forward to seeing, and then I want to flip gears to defense. Obviously, the offensive line as a whole is a huge talking point tonight, but I want to see what Chris Paul does. 75 is who you're watching for at left guard. And he is starting because Sadiq Charles remains out. Logan Thomas also out tonight. But Chris Paul has been better than Sadiq Charles was. Sadiq Charles is going to have to come back when he does come back from injury at a higher level. But if Chris Paul goes out and balls out tonight, it's his job to lose at this point. It just is. The offensive line has been better with him in there. He individually has played better and performed better, not only in teamwork, but in drills, like in the one-on-ones, than Charles did when he was out there and healthy. Charles has been unreliable for a number of years, and I hate that for Sadiq, but when you talk about, where this team is, that's a big deal. And getting someone with a ton of talent in there and getting him those extra reps and making that decision sooner rather than later, I think is probably smart for this offensive line. So I've got my eyes on, obviously, if there's a ton of internal pressure tonight, let's see where it is. Watching offensive line play on a TV copy is really hard, but to the best of our abilities, given the circumstances, the fact that we don't have a all 22 live cam going from the end zone to watch the line play, Anthony, Chris Paul might be the single biggest non-Sam Howell, individual that I want to watch tonight.
Yeah.
Offensively, at least anyway.
Yeah. I think I want to also see B-Rob. I think there's been a lot of talk about, him bouncing back from last year after being shot in the leg. So I'm looking to see a fully healthy B-Rob and sort of like the entire running back room, to be honest, him and AG, how they balance each other out, and also how Eric Bieniemy uses both of them, because I think that's ultimately what he's going to want to do.
Yeah, that's a regular season thing for me. Mm-hmm. I just don't know how much of that we're going to see tonight. Will you see some of it potentially? Could you see them both out there and you give Arizona something to think about? You get to practice some of the stuff you're going to use at some point. Yeah, but I don't know that they'll put Brian Robinson out at receiver like they have a bunch in training camp tonight. I just think that that's one of those things that you kind of keep under wraps, and people can read about it and be kind of prepared for it, but you don't necessarily want them to realize how good it is and exactly what it looks like. So I'm curious about the running back room, but the end of the roster running backs are more interesting to me in the preseason because eventually there's just going to be a ton of handoffs. Yeah. Can one of those guys, can a Derek Gore, can a Jarrett Patterson, who's done well in those situations in the past, can a Jonathan Williams, can one of those guys make a real case for making the roster based off who they are as a running back and plus whatever they're able to do on special teams, because that's ultimately going to be the deciding factor. I think the tight end room is also huge. Logan Thomas is out. That stinks for Sam. But, Cole Turner's emerged as a very solid player. He was really good last year until he got hurt towards the end of training camp, and he was just never quite the same all year. But Curtis Hodges has run good routes. He offers more as a blocker than anybody else in that room besides John Bates, but he has not been good finishing plays throughout camp. He's had a fumble or two when he's caught balls. That's when he catches the ball. He's certainly had some drops and just like some contested catches that you'd really like to see him make that aren't technically drops, but he doesn't make the play. If he can go out and be like, actually, the problem was I'm a gamer and that was practice, and prove that he belongs on this team, like Monday when we do our updated 53-man roster projection, he's going to be back on there. And so I think offensively tonight, do you want to see Jahan Dotson? Of course, but do you have any doubts about Jahan Dotson? Nope. No. Same thing with Terry. Curtis, I feel like is a bit of a gadget guy in this offense, and so he's more of a let's see what they do with him in the regular season type of player. But the tight end spot, and specifically left guard, but the offensive line as a whole, on top of the obvious of quarterback play, that to me is the offensive personnel questions, the offensive personnel to watch list for tonight. Yeah. Anybody else to add on the first string? We'll get to some deeper guys later in the show.
Nah, the last person I was going to say was the tight end room, but you already hit on that. So
okay, so that leaves us defensively. Let's talk structure. I have no idea what to expect. Defensively, they, in the regular season, rotate a ton on the D-line, and they, so far in training camp, have rotated an immense amount in the back seven as well. And I specifically divide it that way, not just to say DBs, but back seven, because, Cody Barton is in some, Jamin's in some, they're in together some, Mayo's in some. I think you'll see all four of those linebackers potentially out there with some of the first team, depending on how many plays they face and what situations. I think that you will see any of the following DBs that are technically out there with a first team, right? Quote-unquote first team. Emmanuel Forbes, Kendall Fuller, BSJ, Percy Butler, Derek Forrest, Cam Curl, Quan Martin, Rashad Wildgoose. That's 8 dudes. That's 8 dudes, of which we'll play 4 to 5 at a time. There's going to be so much rotation. And I'm just very, very curious to see how many different combos they put out there and how long some of these guys are out there. Is Quan Martin going to play, let's say 2 snaps with the first team, 20 with the second team, and then it's okay, we also want to see him in the post, or we want to see him at outside corner or something crazy. And so you get him a series or 2 with the third team too. I don't know how much these guys are going to play and who's going to kind of come out when, but I am fascinated to see how they manage it, because they have so many different packages. And if you, again, think of this as preparation and you got to get them ready, there's just only so many snaps in a game, and you want to get these guys out to mitigate the injury risk. Mm-hmm. But you also got to, get enough snaps in to get them the looks that you want.
Yeah. It's going to be tough. But also, I think, mixing in that single package, you at least, get the D lineman in there.
Right. I didn't even say that. Yeah.
Then you go back to, the base, and then you can, play around with the linebackers and the safeties. So I think just, switching up, the different formations will allow them to, get a better feel for, what they want to, work on for next week. And then also what they can, just wait to save, I guess.
Yeah. I think that the first team defensive line, obviously if there's a long drive that goes against them, then you'll see James, and you'll see Casey, and you'll see FA, and you'll see Big Phil rotate in. If they can get through 1 or maybe 2, 3 and out, maybe give up 1 first down, let's call it 3 to 6 play series, then John Allen, Chase Young, Montez Sweat, and Deron Payne are done. Those to me are the easiest. They're the first ones to come out. Don't need them to get a ton of work. Yeah. Do you want to give Chase a little extra? Maybe, but you got the joint practices coming. I'm good with all that. I don't think they need a ton of time. Frankly, I don't think the 2 defensive line needs a ton of time either. I have big trust in James Smith-Williams and Casey Tuhill and F.A. Obata specifically. If you want to get Big Phil a little bit more action, If you want to get Ridgeway, you want to get my guy Abdullah Anderson a little bit of extra action, go ahead. But those top 4 defensive ends, plus F.A. Obata, plus Allen and Payne, don't need a ton from them tonight.
Mm-hmm.
The secondary, I don't need a ton of Kendall. I think BSJ getting a little bit of extra work in the slot, fine. If you want to leave Forbes out there a little longer, honestly, fine with that. But it also depends on what you're facing. How long is Cleveland's one offense out there, and what do they look like? Because just having your ones beat up on their twos doesn't really accomplish a whole lot either. So there's a little bit of a cat and mouse game that happens on the defensive side of the ball that you are not in control of. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Chris Russell joins us live from Cleveland at 5 o'clock. But next, Eric Edholm joins us talking not just Commanders Browns, but week 1 overall in the preseason for the NFL. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube, youtube.com/@theteam980. And it's my pleasure to welcome back to the show our guy Eric Edholm, lead draft writer for NFL.com. And Eric, we're obviously getting ready for the Commanders' preseason debut tonight. If you're watching this game, I know there's a ton of games on, but if you're watching it, what's the thing that you're most interested in for Washington?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's, going to be interested to see how the quarterbacks play. I think at this point, the national view is probably pretty similar to what you guys are feeling, which is, everything points to Sam winning this job. But you still want to see it in action. You want to see, what the play designs look like from Eric Bieniemy and how quickly they move and how vanilla they keep it. And, just sort of what his command is, I guess. And, as you sort of peel back the layers, I mean, obviously a lot of people who defend the Commanders and say this is a team people are sleeping on, will point to the defense and all the talent. I mean, again, it's starters, it's preseason, there's only so much you can see, but that's the kind of thing that I don't think a lot of people have taken notice of, how good they are on that side of the ball and how potentially interesting they could be on the other side.
Yeah, definitely. for obviously it's nice to have someone on who has perspective beyond, the Beltway, or I guess Ashburn's at least outside the Beltway if we want to get real technical, but outside the DMV. What do we see from Cleveland? Like they've got some really talented offensive linemen, obviously even ignoring the off the field stuff. Watson was a mess last year, but there's reports that he's kind of refound form this year, whatever that means. Like what's the word out of Cleveland camp that you're hearing, and who were the Commanders actually playing tonight?
Yeah. No, they're a team that this offseason, I always try to sort of look for, the arrows sort of point you in a certain direction. And last year, Minnesota was one of those teams. The Giants were another one of those teams where, you could see them moving forward. I mean, I didn't think Minnesota would win 13 games. I didn't think the Giants would win a playoff game, but you could see that there were arrows pointing in the right direction for both teams. And Cleveland kind of fit that definition this year. I thought Washington did too, but, in terms of looking at strength of schedule and point differential and some of the metrics and things like that, Cleveland was maybe a little bit of a better team than some people realize, but Deshaun struggled. I mean, there's no sugarcoating. He didn't play great down the stretch. And I think the interesting thing now, if you're looking kind of forward to week one with tonight in the backdrop, there's this sort of below the surface question of just how well Deshaun Watson, who's a creator, he wants to be able to run and move in the pocket and have options and sort of create his magic on the fly, how well he fits into Kevin Stefanski offense, which is a lot more structured and a little bit more rigid, and you got to play within the system to make it work. That's the one thing kind of holding me back from saying, oh, yeah, this is an 11-win team. I mean, not the one thing. It's a tough division, but they're really interesting, and I think they can be a lot better, especially defensively. But Watson and Stefanski, that's really going to be the key this season, whether they're going to be 7-10 again or one of those teams that has a surprise season, I think.
Yeah, if there's a power struggle, I wonder who will win it between the head coach and the guy they gave the dumbest contract in NFL history. Probably
fully guaranteed. Yeah, he's not going anywhere. Yeah.
Oh my God, what a disaster! How perfectly Cleveland. I love that we now hopefully are past the how perfectly Washington. But that's a different story. Eric Edholm's with us, lead NFL draft writer for NFL.com. So with reciting of your title, Eric, obviously you've got such a great feel for the rookies. Sam Howell, not a rookie. That's the number one storyline, a guy from last year. But of the actual rookies on this Washington team, anybody in particular that you are interested to see, whether it's, you just really like them coming out, you didn't love them coming out, and you're curious how they, if they'll prove you wrong, so to speak, something you've heard coming out of camp, any of the rookies that are going to line up tonight in burgundy and gold that you are particularly interested in?
Yeah, no, I mean, Emmanuel Forbes is obviously a fascinating player, and I'm not saying I was on him before other people, but I mean, I brought up the idea like, hey, you look at his production like in February, I said, I haven't talked to a single scout about him yet in terms of where he'll end up in the draft or any of that. I said, but tall corner, yes, lean, but tall corner with incredible ball production in the SEC, that kind of spelled first round to me, even though he was almost historically low as far as weight is concerned. I mean, I just sort of felt like, at that point, that wasn't he was sort of viewed as maybe a second or third rounder by some media types. And I said, look, I don't have any inside sourcing on this one, but I'm telling you guys, he's going higher than you think. And I didn't necessarily know he'd go that high, or that, it seemed like the Patriots traded down hoping that he would be there. I think they would have taken him instead of Christian Gonzalez, who's also playing well in camp. But yeah, I mean, this was a great corner class, and there were 31 flavors, right? I mean, you could find any type of corner you wanted, I think, in this class, which is rare. And he's one of the guys that I'm most anxious to see in an NFL system, and, see how he fits and how Jack and Ron use him and how quickly he can adapt. So he's a big one. I mean, off the top of my head, a guy I was a little later on, I didn't get to really dive into him until right after the combine, was Braden Daniels. I mean, I haven't followed what he's done in camp, but I didn't think much of him the first viewing I saw, but then the more I watched him, the more I appreciate his athleticism, his versatility, his smarts, and, not the biggest guy, but I think he'll be fine in time. So he'll be, he's the kind of guy that you love to see in the preseason because he's sort of right in the middle of that draft where, you know, guys typically get a second season if you're picked in what would be the fourth round, I guess. So still, he's, you know, is he a red shirt or is he actually going to make an impact this year? What kind of forecast is he going to have?
Yeah, based off camp, red shirt and position switch back to
probably.
guard. I mean, where did you have him as a tackle or a guard?
Guard. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think. I mean, there are some teams who would have maybe tried him at tackle, the right system, but yeah, most people had him inside, even center. So yeah.
Oh yeah, because they're trying him at tackle, and Eric, let me tell you, it's not going great.
Yeah,
that's.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, you know, I'm. A couple of years ago, it was sort of the same story with the kid from LSU with I'm blanking on his name.
Charles.
Yeah, I mean, there was that sort of play tackle. You could see him at guard. Isaiah Wynn with the Patriots, now Dolphins. You know, there've been a few of those guys who sort of fit that mold a little bit, and that's maybe not the best example, but the first two I think fit pretty well. Where, yeah, you like the college tape outside, but inside looks a little better.
Yeah, no, it happens. And Sadiq Charles is now getting surpassed by Chris Paul on the depth chart at left guard here. So that's actually one of the things I'm watching for tonight to see if Sadiq is out there with the ones at all, or if he plays at all. He's been battling a little bit of an injury because he's always battling a little bit of an injury. Eric Edholm is with us, NFL.com, here on the Hoffman Show. You know, obviously we're in it now. You had a couple games last night. You've had the Hall of Fame game, but the big slate over the next couple of days. What are the one or two preseason games that you are really locked in on that you want to see a particular guy and how he does, and whether it's his NFL debut or, you know, year two or whatever the reason is?
Yeah, probably the ones I'll be writing about tonight. But yeah,
typically helps if you watch them.
I mean, what's that?
I said it typically helps if you watch them if you're going to write on them.
Yeah,
you know?
right. I know, obviously. But, yeah, I mean, these preseason games, I think, sometimes reveal more than we realize. Sometimes, you know, think about how many times you write or, in your case, say on the radio, yeah, back in the preseason, this happened, and that led to this. I mean, you go back and look. I mean, there's quite a bit of things that develop, even if the games don't matter themselves. But, yeah, I mean, I would start with the Falcons. I'll just throw them out there as a team that, like, when I put up my power rankings the other day, I think I surprised people how high I had them. I don't know, 16, 17, somewhere in that range. And it actually took everything I could to sort of not put them a little bit higher. I think they're a better defensive team. I still worry about Desmond Ridder and his limitations, but they have a couple big weapons in the pass game, and that run game is legit. I think Bijan is going to be your clear-cut Rookie of the Year favorite. And just the optimism that's brewing there. I mean, they're talking more confidently in Atlanta than I think you've heard in a while. So they're a team to watch as far as wide open division. You know, Saints seem to be everybody's favorite, but I like Atlanta a little bit, and I want to see how they play tonight. I mean, Denver's a big one, obviously. I don't know if I can stay up late. I may have to watch that one on replay tomorrow. But, you know, what is the Sean Payton era going to look like in year one, and how much is Russell Wilson in the picture? You know, Peyton's back. Wilson, is he back? I mean, there's a lot going on in Denver right now. So they're clearly a team that is sort of at a flashpoint right now.
Last thing I'll ask you on the way out, where are you at on preseason strategy now a couple years into this 3-game preseason? You know, with the 4, it was always like you play a little bit or not at all in the first one. You get some solid time in the second. Third's the dress rehearsal, and the fourth is for the guys fighting to make the roster. I think this is an area where teams could create an advantage with a completely different strategy, but both from what you've seen around the league and just kind of your own thoughts, like where are you on how teams, like what's the optimal way for a team to handle a 3-game preseason?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think it starts obviously with your quarterback. Do you have an established starter, right? And then if so, how much is injury a part of the equation? Are we switching offensive coordinators? Do we need that guy to have a good number of reps? Hell, I remember Sean McVay, his first year, 17 or 16, 17, I forget exactly when.
17, yeah.
He got ripped for only playing his starters 7 series in 4 preseason games, and everybody thought, they're not going to be ready. And, they sort of set the league on its ear a little bit that first year. And so I don't think there's any one magic answer, but clearly the teams that have more sorting out to do on the offensive side of the ball, especially if the quarterback position's involved. That's going to dramatically impact how much time your starters are getting with each guy, I would assume, right? So, yeah, it really depends. I think it depends where your team is at. But you're right. I think the reduction from 4 to 3 has changed coaches' approach on this thing. You're seeing some joint practices and different things. Some coaches like those better and treat them more important than the game.
Yeah, definitely. I'm actually really fascinated because we're headed to Baltimore next week for some joint practices, and it sounds like Rivera's not really changing his approach to the games. Like a lot of times you have so many reps in the joint practices that you don't even bother playing your starters in the games, and it doesn't sound like that's what Ron's going to do. So we'll see, obviously, as we head towards that game. So you'll be writing on which games that we can read at NFL.com.
Good question. I'd have to look. Yeah, I don't have it in front of me. I looked at it yesterday and I said, all right, if it's week 1, I could tell you, right? That's a little different. But tonight I'll tune in and check it out. But yeah, I think I've got like 3 games tonight, so I'll be doing a little plate spinning here.
There you go. All right, Eric Edholm. It's a mystery to all of us at this point, but he'll watch and then you'll read it at NFL.com and the mystery will be solved. Great stuff, man. Look forward to talking to you throughout the season, and thanks so much for your time as always.
All right, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Hey, this is DA, and you're listening to The Hoffman Show on the Team.
Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Anthony, is your look pretty light on? Did you forget to turn that on today?
It's on.
Oh, okay. I think you need to turn it up. You disappeared in the shadows there for a second. The people on YouTube need to see you, man. Yeah, there. Look at this beautiful man. A little bright in your own face. Bright lights, big city.
That's
Football
better.
season, bro. Lights
shining.
are just a little bit brighter now.
I'm shining.
Wait till you get your regular season light. Ooh! It's coming. It's coming. Speaking of things that are coming up, Chris Russell is going to join us live from Cleveland. I believe he's at First Energy Stadium. So we will get Russell on the horn at 5. Looking forward to that. But right now, time for our weekend preview, brought to you by nobody. All right, Women's World Cup continues. Pretty huge, shocking result this morning. Sweden, who beat the U.S., did not play particularly well in that game. Obviously, they get a little bit lucky in PKs with the U.S. missing 3 of them. Run up against Japan, who had been an absolute buzzsaw. And Sweden pounces Japan. So now, Women's World Cup continuing on. You're almost at the semifinal round. The absolute best of the best, and you have a really compelling England team that has been or that won the last Euros. And Sweden, obviously wins 2-1 this morning, and then overnight tonight you have Australia, France. Australia, one of the home teams. France favored in this one. France has been great all tournament long, but Australia also has Sam Kerr back, and you have to wonder if she, who is probably the best player in the world, not top 5 for sure, just an electric goal scorer who has barely played in this tournament due to a calf strain she suffered right before it. Can she be enough to carry her team into the semifinals? But then England, Colombia. Colombia's got a lot of young talent. They're fantastic. But does England have enough without Lauren James, who got suspended 2 games for stepping on an opponent? Bizarre suspension, Anthony, by the way. Because if it's a non-violent act, you're supposed to be suspended 1. If it's a violent act, you're supposed to be suspended 3. And FIFA just made up a rule to try to make everybody happy and suspended her 2 games. Why? Because FIFA makes things up as they go along and are stupid. Classic FIFA. Then Sunday, you got nothing. Games resume on Tuesday, actually. Spain, Sweden in one semifinal. And then, obviously, the winner of the 2 games we just mentioned play on Wednesday. The Women's World Cup final is next Sunday at 6 a.m. Third-place game on Saturday at 4 a.m. Nationals this weekend, they are hosting the A's, but that is not the biggest baseball story in the DMV. Kevin Brown back in the booth tonight for the Orioles, and Kevin actually has taken to social media, broken his silence before the game tonight. He says, O's fans, I'm a storyteller. Never want to be part of the story. The most compelling story in baseball right now is the story of the league-leading Baltimore Orioles, the best, most exciting young team in the American League. Unfortunately, recent media reports have mischaracterized my relationship with my adopted hometown Orioles. The fact is that I have a wonderful relationship with the organization, and our ownership and front office has fully supported me since 2019 when I first came aboard. I ask that everyone disregard the distracting noise of the past few days. I have worked closely with O's SVP Greg Bader for the past 4 years, and John Angelos and I have had a solid dialogue based on mutual respect. We're all good here in Birdland. I'm proud to be an Oriole and call Baltimore home, and there's no place in baseball I'd rather be right now, and for the long haul, go O's. Yeah, that... At first, I was like, man, Kevin is so classy. And he is, right? Like, Kevin is a classy dude. And honestly, like, we joked when we had Scott Allen on the show yesterday about like, how does he approach the broadcast tonight? Like, can you just show up? Like, you can't just show up and be like, hey, I'm Kevin Brown. Welcome to Orioles Baseball on Masson, and pretend like nothing happened. The fans were chanting "Free Kevin Brown," and like those tweets read a little bit like a hostage note. I hope that Kevin is not forced to do anything like that. But I also think that, like, Kevin's smart, and he might have just gone, you want to know what? If I put something out there now, happy, positive vibes, then I can just kind of do that. I can be like, hey, thanks for everyone for your support, but I am very happy to be where I am. We have a great, I'm very much looking forward to this. We have great mutual respect. Now let's get to the baseball. And you make it short, sweet, to the point. But that is definitely a story. Like, there's going to be a lot of people watching at 10 o'clock tonight on Masson, not for the baseball. And that is the last place that Masson and the Orioles wanted to be.
Do you think he gets axed, or like not necessarily axed, but do you think it's going to be a conversation with him and whoever like he's in the booth with?
No.
No chance.
And this is twofold. It's part of, like, when you work for a team, and when the teams control these broadcasts, like, this is not a shot at anybody, because if you do play-by-play, like, even like Mike Breen, right, the premier play-by-play man, arguably in all of sports right now, ESPN, voice of the NBA Finals. He also works for the Knicks. Like, he does the Knicks home games. Ian Eagle does the Nets games. Like, if you work outside of the NFL, where NFL broadcasts are all national, there is not a single local broadcast that I know of in the country. There might be one or two left where the rights are actually held by the radio or TV station. Like, Dave Johnson, we love having Dave on, but Dave doesn't work for us. Dave works for the Wizards. And that's just part of it. And, some organizations basically let their play-by-play guys do whatever they want, and some have a tighter grasp. It just is. It's part of the deal. And so, that's part of it, is the Orioles, your boss doesn't want it to be part of the story. But, like, I have, on some level, on purpose, avoided talking to Kevin too much about this, other than to be like, hey, man, I'm here to support you as a friend, because he is a genuinely, I'm not doing this to name drop, like, Kevin Brown and I have known each other for 10 years. He was my sports director at WAER at Syracuse. I didn't pick him. He didn't pick me. We were stuck together. And we're both thrilled about it. But I've kind of intentionally not talked to him about this, because I don't want people to feel like I'm speaking for him, and I don't want to try to speak for him in any way. I want to be able to do my job, and he wants to be able to do his. But I do know him as a human being well enough that he does not want to be a part of the story. Like, I do not think he probably wanted to put out that statement, because he just would have rather showed up to work tonight and called the game. And so he does it because it's a little bit like when Rivera had to apologize, even though, like, Brown did nothing wrong. Yeah. Rivera kind of did something wrong. But it's like, all right, well, people are upset, so I can't just pretend like people aren't. So you got to say something. But there's no way he wants this to last any further. Like, I don't know if Kevin has a Wikipedia page. If he does, they better lock it. Otherwise, he might go in and delete this part of it. Like, that's just who he is. He just wants to show up and do his job, because that's what it is. Other than that, weekend preview, Mystics and Aces tonight. That game's in Las Vegas. Elena Deladon, I think, is going to be back for that. Shakira Austin's back tonight. Lots of the injured Mystics hopefully back. Might not matter. Aces are the best team in basketball right now in the W. So we will keep an eye on that one tonight as the Commanders game is wrapping up. And, of course, plenty of NFL preseason action all weekend long. Coming up in the 6 o'clock hour, we're actually going to play a game of, are you going to watch that? We'll go through the entire NFL preseason schedule for the weekend, see which games we're actually interested in watching beyond Commanders-Browns tonight. As for Commanders-Browns, though, we're going to talk about it next with Chris Russell. Roosters in Cleveland. He'll set the scene for us here on the Team 980 and always live on the free Odyssey app.
AM Radio.
It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Clinton Yates, bottom of the hour. Brian Mitchell, top of the next hour. He'll be live from Cleveland, just like Chris Russell is right now for Not My Beat. Rooster, live
Hello,
from
Craig.
First Energy Stadium. How are you?
sir? What's going on?
I'm good. Excited. Our show is not often that I'm super excited to go long on a show, work extra for free. But, when you got an actual football game to talk
Right.
about and you're taking yourselves up to kickoff, and you get great company on the show, now I'm mad about it. I'm in a great place on a Friday.
Where else would you rather be than right here, right now? That's what Marv Levy used to say a long time ago when he would coach the Buffalo Bills, which is not too far away from here, Buffalo. It's interesting being back here in Cleveland. The last time we were, the late Dwayne Haskins was the starting quarterback. That was not a good game. Week 3, 2020, Ron's first year COVID, no fan or very limited fans. I guess there was like 9,000 fans here or whatever, but. There was, it was a weird atmosphere. I don't know how many fans will be here tonight, but I hope we get an entertaining game.
Yeah, obviously we have a great sister station up there, 92.3 The Fan. They've been talking about this game all day. As you walk around a city like Cleveland, anywhere close to football, it feels like it's always a great vibe. I remember I was there for a preseason game. God, it was when I was on the beat, so it had to be like 2018, 2019. But you kind of felt like, oh yeah, there's a game tonight. What's it been like to be in the city today and wandering around?
Well, unfortunately, I've been.
Well, you've mostly been sitting exactly where you are right now.
Noon, exactly. Yeah. So did the radio show. I'm very loud, as you know, and I've been annoying everybody. And it is what it is. So I haven't really gotten the quote unquote vibe, but just it's. It's a good football town, right? Cleveland, no matter how many losing seasons they've had and how many problems they've had at quarterback and, weird things with their own ownership and all that, it's a great football town. And you do feel it. I mean, we're about an hour away from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Again, everybody knows the dog pound and whatever. I don't know what to expect for a preseason game. I've never been up here for a preseason game, but I remember not only the game that I was referring to, but also in 2012. This is where things started to turn a little bit for Kirk Cousins and Robert Griffin. It was like mid-December, and Kirk replaced Robert because Robert had been hurt the week before by Haloti Ngata and the Ravens and couldn't play, wanted to play, and then remember that bizarre press conference after where Robert actually spoke despite not playing, and Kirk had a tremendous game, and Robert was trying to do his best to expand the flames, if you will, and whatnot. So that was probably my greatest memory, if you will, of a football game that I worked up here.
Yeah, definitely. All right, for tonight, Hal is the big story. We'll circle back to him. What's the next biggest story for you?
I think, for me and it's hard to say, does the first team defense, whatever we see of it, does it look the part, right? Does it generate a turnover? Does it generate major heat on Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns and a good offensive line still coached by Bill Callahan? So, that's the question for me, I guess, from a pure football aspect. The other one for me that I talked more about this yesterday, I want to see this running attack for the Commanders. I want to see a good physical running attack. I like running the football, but
Rooster, I had heard that once.
Yeah, maybe. But it's been probably the most successful part of the offense, quite honestly, at camp, and I think you've seen that. I don't know if you absolutely agree with that, but I know, Logan has talked about that. I've seen it. I mean, it not like they're ripping off, 70-yard runs. I don't want to create that impression. They're not. But it's been the probably best and most consistent part of the offense that I've seen. So now, going against a pretty good and talented and deep defensive line, can they do that in a game situation where tackling is live, real, all that stuff? And I do think that should be, there's no game plan, but that should be like something that they want to make sure that they get to early and often. And I would hope that you see like a guy like Chris Rodriguez pile up, I don't know, 13, 14 carries by the time the night is over, and maybe pop, one for 15 or 20 yards or something like that.
Chris Russell with us from Cleveland here on the Hoffman Show. He's at First Energy Stadium. It's still called that, right? I'm not just blubbering that?
No, it actually is official now, Cleveland Browns Stadium, even though some of the signage that I saw, where did I see it? Somewhere, it said still First Energy, but I guess in April they officially went back to Cleveland Browns Stadium.
Did First Energy go under? Did the naming rights go up? What happened to First Energy?
That I do not know.
Anthony, you're going to have to get on that and get back to us by the end of the segment. We'll bring Anthony in at the end of the segment, and he can give us an update on First Energy, if I remember to do that by the end of the segment, which is at best a 50-50 proposition.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, Hoffman, I am the master of a lot of ridiculous knowledge. That knowledge I do not have.
No. I also know a lot of random things.
Yeah.
But between the two of us, what happened to First Energy? Not in the repertoire. All right. No, the running game thing is interesting. And this kind of gets to a larger point that I think is fascinating for tonight. Like, we think of preseason offense as vanilla and not very exciting. But kind of the fundamental parts that Eric Bieniemy has includes things that used to be considered fancy or aberrations or, those are special plays. Things like screens and play action and maybe even a jet sweep. Like, I don't know if exotic's the right word, but how exciting do you expect the offensive game plan to be tonight?
I don't think we're going to see the quote-unquote eye candy exotic stuff. Look, we're going to see some motions, of course, but I don't know if we're going to see, the jet sweep shovel pass, kind of thing that we've seen so much of from Kansas City's offense. And quite honestly, we've seen at times during training camp and practices. The stuff that they work on in Ashburn probably is not going to be, some of that stuff, and maybe a lot of it is not going to be on display tonight, where teams can actually get their eyes on this tape, right? I mean, all the practices leading up to this, teams can't see. So, why would you do it tonight? But that's why I think the traditional kind of downhill physical running game will probably be a lot of what you see. And again, they'll have some motion. I'm not suggesting that they won't, but and maybe they take a deep shot. Maybe they take, a go route deep shot, just to see how that looks and to see how that comes off and to see how the offensive line protects. But I'd be very surprised if you see some of the stuff that we see in Ashburn, A, and B, some of the stuff that this offense can be just by simply watching, the Kansas City Chiefs over the years and some of the things that they like to do. So I would be very surprised if you see a lot of fancy schmancy stuff.
Yeah, I just think that the bar for fancy schmancy is so much, I don't know if it's higher or lower, whichever the direction the bar needs to go. Like, the stuff that Scott Turner would have been like, oh my, like that's special. It's like, that's a 2nd down and 7 call for Bieniemy. Right. There is just some reality to that. And motion, there will be a ton of it because that's how they run their offense. I do expect to see some pretty basic, staple Andy Reid screens. And that's the thing too, is if you run stuff that teams expect you to run, are you really putting anything that special on tape?
Right.
But at the same time, this is, I don't know, Chris, this is something I've been struggling with, and Logan and I have been talking about this a lot this week, both on and off the air. There's this push and pull of preseason that you have to both get ready for the season and not screw yourself for the season with injuries. And you can't just shut everyone down because then no one's ready, but you don't want to, there's some magical line somewhere where you overexpose and you don't know exactly where that line is going to be.
Right.
And that's where I kind of struggle in terms of what you should actually do tonight with not just your starters, but some of your key backups, but also kind of what you run. You don't want to overexpose yourself, not necessarily to injury, but to putting too much on tape. But if you don't do enough of the stuff you want to do during the regular season, theoretically, you're not actually getting ready for the regular season.
Yeah, and I totally get that. I think somewhere in the middle, again, you mentioned a lot of we're going to see that. And that's why I said maybe you run, I don't know, a 4 vertical deep route or whatever you want to do. Maybe you run a deep post to either Jahan or Terry just to kind of see how that looks. The one thing that I will, that I'm more concerned about is how much playing time, certain guys get. And I was talking about this throughout the week, and I don't know how exactly you feel. Like I am a believer, of course, guys have to play, right? Their practice is not the same as a preseason game. It just isn't. So I would, I don't know how much the first team is going to play tonight. My guess would be minimum of 2 series, but they really should play, in my opinion, it's just me, 3 series, and depending on how the series go, maybe a 4th. And I look back at last year's preseason opener, Craig, and I had forgotten about this, but Wentz and the first-team offense played 3 series against Carolina in that first preseason game. Now, maybe they played the third because the second one ended in a Antonio Gibson fumble and a turnover, and Ron, wanted to see more. But that's a veteran quarterback, granted, in a new system and a new team that was struggling. This is a rookie-plus quarterback with a new offense, a new coordinator, a new everything, a new offensive line. To me, they need to play a minimum of 3 series tonight, the first-team offense.
Yeah, I from what I've heard, / what Keim has reported at this point, it's going to be most of the first quarter. It could be if they go out and have a 9-play drive and get a touchdown, they're done. The goal is to have a good series, and if it takes 1, if it takes 2, if it takes 3, then that'll be that. I think the other thing to watch that could be interesting is a mix and match of, and we'll talk about the defensive side in a second, because I think that's actually more fascinating on the mix and match front. But I think you could see the one offensive line stay in longer with Jacoby Brissett and guys like De'Ami Brown and the 2 receivers. I think that's not just possible, unless all of a sudden it takes Sam and them 3-4 series to get a good one in. I think the offensive line is going to stay out there a little bit longer, which it sucks because that's often the most risky position in terms of injuries, but they're the ones that need the reps the most to coalesce and come together as a unit.
Yeah, I like that word, coalesce.
There you go. It's your SAT word of the day.
That's a very Syracusey word.
You're welcome.
It just means you're smarter than me. But yes, I agree. I mean, look, I don't want anybody to get hurt either, but who are we kidding? They need, the reps, they need to gel. They need that chemistry, whatever. And here's the thing. People forget about this, right? There's 4 new starters on this offensive line, at least the way I count it, because even though Cosme was the right tackle starter last year, he's playing a different position, of course, right? And, of course, Yates, and then whoever wins the left guard battle, and Wiley at right tackle. And I actually think this offensive line won't be horrific this year. It'll be good, but I don't think they'll be horrific. I'm kind of hoping they can be somewhere in the middle of the pack, 17, 18, maybe 16, however you break down the metrics. I mean, if they can get to that, if Nick Yates can – Nick Yates, I'm a little worried about. He's gotten into some fracases, and he's had, I've mentioned this a number of times, 6 or 7 really high snaps over the last week and a half or so. And he's got to stay healthy, and he's got to be good. And health, of course, is, I guess, the most important thing, especially when you look at the revolving door that this team has had at center. And so I don't know how you balance all this stuff out, Craig. I just know that you can get hurt playing, in practice. You can get hurt in a preseason game. You can get hurt in a regular season. You can get hurt walking to the deli. I mean, at some point you got to play football, right? And at some point these guys got to get ready, and they have to see how things. Against a fairly good defensive line, right? I don't know how long those guys are going to play. You need to see how they go against a different defensive line than the one that they know what's coming and the one that they've kind of gotten used to over the last couple of weeks and, of course, couple of months in Ashburn.
The Rooster crawling with us from Cleveland, although quietly. This is very, very bizarre, by the way. I know why, and those watching on YouTube can see. By the way, for those watching on YouTube, can we straighten you out a little bit? Can we get you a little more centered in frame? We need to see your whole face, Chris.
I was trying to give Nikki Javal a little space here and not annoy her any more than I already am.
Yeah, okay, that's a little bit better. We're a little more centered. Yeah, okay. That's good. That's good. But
I'm already a tough watch on television or on video. I was trying to cut off half of my face.
Oh, okay. Well, what I was going to say though is they can see that you're in the press box. So having a human level conversation in terms of the volume as opposed to probably we'll get back to the game in a second. But my favorite, I don't know if I even ever told you this, one of my favorite Rooster stories was when we broadcast from the Wizards intro press conferences. And we're there with, Michael Winger and Will Dawkins, and they're about to come by the set. And where we were set up was right next to the NBC, soon-to-be Monumental set. And Glenn Consor was doing kind of the intro, outro stuff with Wes Hall. And here you come to start your show. Cock-a-doodle-doo, here's the Rooster. And your booming loud voice that you can hear from 78 states away, even though there's only 50 of them. And Glenn looks at me and just mouths to me, he's loud.
Well, I will say this. I've already been told twice in the press box this afternoon that I'm too loud. So
okay, I think you're doing a great job.
It's not a surprise. Listen,
you don't need to make excuses.
I'm trying to be as nice as I can, and I'm trying to be as calm as I can. That's all I can do.
I think you're doing a great job. You're dropping great knowledge at a perfectly normal volume, at least in my headphones. All right. Tell Nikki and everybody I got you for like 2.5 more minutes, and then you can sit there quietly for the rest of the game. Defensively, I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see how they mix and match and like who kind of the last men of the will play during the regular season is standing. My prediction is it's going to be Quan Martin, that he is going to bounce around a lot, and that he will play some nickel, he will play some Buffalo, he will play some post safety. How do you think they kind of rotate the defense and at all three levels? Let's start with the defensive backs, then we can go to the front guys.
And you're just talking about tonight, or are you talking about?
Yeah, tonight.
I mean, obviously Defoe and I don't know how much Buffalo they're going to play. I mean, they'll play some. I want to see. I mean, I assume Defoe and Cam Curl will get the start if they open up in a traditional, normal 4 defensive back, set. And then, Percy Butler, I think he's had a fairly decent camp from what I've seen. I'd like to see him kind of, get some opportunities in there. So whether that's in Buffalo or whether that's, substituting for whoever, I think you'll definitely see that. And the corner situation, to me, is the more intriguing one, right? Because what is this team going to do? You mentioned Quan Martin and how versatile he can be. What is this team going to do when we get into the regular season and everyone hopefully is healthy, right? I mean, we think it's going to be Fuller at right corner. We think it's going to be Emmanuel Forbes at left corner and Benjamin St. Juste in the slot. But that means Quan Martin's probably not playing as much unless you're in dime, right? Because you're not putting Quan Martin over Cam Curl and Derek Forrest. So really the only way he would play under that situation, you would think, would be in dime, 6 defensive backs. What does that mean for Danny Johnson? What does that mean for... am I forgetting about somebody else?
I think Rashad Wild Goose has played a lot of nickel.
Yeah, I mean, Wild Goose
DSJ,
can play, but I mean, Wild Goose is not
guys.
going to play nickel unless somebody's banged up, right? I mean, he's not going to.
I don't know, man. Like that
guys.
to me is the crazy thing is like they've got all these packages, and it seems like depending on what personnel is in there, they might want different guys in there.
I don't know. I don't know about you. I mean, maybe he'll be better this year, but he was pretty handsy last year, and in a little bit over his head, and obviously players. Get better and more experienced and, more reps and whatever. I don't know if I want to see a lot of Rashad Wild Goose. I'll just say that unless somebody's injured and unless that changes. And I'm not even sure, look, it looks like they're going to do it because I don't know what other choices they have. I'm not even a huge fan of Benjamin St. Juste in the slot, to be honest with you. But I need him on the field. I can't have him not on the field. I can't have... say Danny Johnson as the primary slot guy or even Quan Martin as the primary slot guy over Benjamin St. Juste. I'm not willing to do that. So, I mean, this is going to be a little bit of an out-of-comfort zone type thing. So I don't know how that's all going to play out during the regular season. Obviously, they have some depth and they have some good versatility, so that's a good thing. And as far as defensive line, I was talking about this earlier on the show. I mean, like, we talk about the big 4, obviously, but they are really deep if everyone stays healthy between Mathis and Ridgeway and, Casey Toohill and James Smith-Williams. And, oh, by the way, what if Abdullah Anderson, like, kind of opens up some eyes? He's a guy that's 27 years old, some experience. I think I heard Logan actually talk about, on the Take Command podcast.
That was me. That was
you.
me
Okay.
with the Abdullah Anderson point.
Okay.
Give me my credit, sir.
My bad. Sorry about that.
Logan says 99% of the smart things, and the 1% that I have, you try to take away from me.
I'm sorry. I was listening. That's the point.
I appreciate that.
But he's one of the guys that I'm really intrigued to see tonight because right now he's what? The 9th defensive lineman, maybe 10th defensive lineman. Can he crack the code here and figure out a way to push a KJ Henry or somebody like that, to the practice? I don't know how it's all going to play out, but the bottom line is this team is really deep at defensive line and defensive back, which we couldn't always say, especially defensive back last year when they only took 4 corners to start the year.
Yeah. I think I have a little bit more faith in the defensive backs than you do, but time will tell. The proof will be in the pudding.
It's a good group. It's a good group. I just, am I wrong on this? But don't you think St. Juice plays a little bit better outside than inside?
I mean, he did last year, but I think camp has been good for him. So we'll see.
That's fine.
We'll see. We'll see how they rotate it tonight too. Chris Russell will have his coverage all. You're in next week, right? Even though you're not in.
I am.
Okay, you're doing the show.
I'll be working from home because my son is going to be with me. So, we don't want him running around the studio and bothering everybody. So, we're trying to talk Commanders football, which he likes to call them the Washington football team. So,
so do many fans.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's that.
So I'll be on, but not in.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I will listen to you next week. I'll see you soon. Enjoy Cleveland. Enjoy the game, and thanks for coming on.
Thanks, pal. Enjoy that free half an hour extra.
Yeah, it's coming up. All right, Chris Russell with us from Cleveland. When we get back, Clinton Yates going to pop on the show. Yates, he has some thoughts on the Bieniemy Rivera saga from earlier this week. We will discuss that with Clinton next. Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live on the free Odyssey app and streaming on YouTube at the Team 980. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. And joining us now is one of the biggest fans you'll ever meet of the band that just played us into the segment. It is ESPN's Clinton Yates with us for his Friday visit. Yates, what's up?
I'm in a better mood as a result of hearing that song, but as the only black kid that was on the 1993 Northwest Little League All-Star team, we didn't make it as far as Williamsport, but one of our assistant coaches was a guy named Ricky Davenport, who is now the head coach of the Northwest Little League team. They got walked off in extras, Gregory, so they're not going to Williamsport, but the boys had a heck of a run, and I got to tell you, man, rooting for your old Little League team is nerves like you will never know in your life, my guy. And let me tell you a quick story. The reason why it's so important to me, for those of you listening in the D.C. area, I played in Northwest Little League. Our coach at the time for the All-Star team is a man named John McCarthy. He runs home run baseball camp over there at Turtle Park and some other places. That summer, he asked us, he said, I need 3 weeks of your life for you to dedicate yourselves as young men to becoming teammates and to becoming better players. And it was that summer that I realized I am no longer a little boy, and if I put my mind to something, I can compete and I can do some things. And so the world of Little League means a lot to me as a result. It's part of the reason I am the man that I am today. And, man, I was hoping those kids could make it to Pennsylvania, but they didn't, and we're proud of them.
That sucks. Good job to those kids for competing. It's so close, which, you know, the closer you get, the more heartbreaking it is. And as far as a time a summer where you just come together and someone tells you it's time to be a man, we just have a tradition for that amongst our people. It's called a bar mitzvah, Clinton.
It's not dissimilar, and many of the young men on my team that year were at bar mitzvahs for quite a bit of that summer. But, yeah, so it was a great time, and you always like to see everybody come together in the name of sportsmanship and having a good time.
No doubt. Real quick on the Paramore front, because I had this joke set up, and then you told a great story. So I'm not mad about the story. It's not even a joke. It's an actual question. Did you see the Steph Curry Chase Center performance with Paramore?
Did I see it? I've been watching it on a loop for a while. Who knew that Steph was down with the Paramore gang? It was great stuff, and I was happy to see him get out there. And, of course, Haley, cookout invites for the rest of her life, as everybody who knows.
Yeah, is that the most jealous you've ever been of Steph Curry?
Perhaps so. You know what I mean? That guy's done a lot of things. Hit a lot of crazy golf shots. Obviously hit a lot of wild basketball shots. Has a beautiful family. But that moment on stage with Paramore, tough to top it.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Okay, Clinton Yates with us from ESPN. So we were texting earlier this week, and you hit me with the, I guess I know what we're talking about, text amongst all the Rivera Bieniemy stuff. Before we get into the substance of it, I think one of the things that's happened here that I appreciated your perspective on when we were texting, and I would like for you to share with the audience, is that for all of the uniquely Washington stories that have happened here over the past 3 years as Dan was under investigation and the team was, and then ultimately he exits, this is not that, correct?
Right. Correct. This is what I would call a garden variety NFL problem. And I'll relate it back to a point that we've talked about a lot, which is that new ownership and new leadership does not necessarily come with immediate success. And this is one of those, I don't want to say hurdles or stumbling blocks, but this is one of those situations. Once again, I'm in downtown LA, pardon the horns. This is one of those situations in which this is how you run a football team, and it is not always going to be pretty. Now, getting into the logistics, I don't love what Ron did. I don't think it's necessary for him to be talking about the relationship of his coaches with his players. That's the kind of thing that under a normal circumstance, you say, okay, they're figuring things out. But under the old circumstance, you say, oh, same old problems. I don't think we're at same old problems, but that doesn't mean that these issues, as in Bieniemy's particular coaching style, won't necessarily negatively affect the team. And if it's coming out this early in preseason, Craig, it's just one of those things where you feel like, I really hope they can figure this out because this team does have talent.
For sure. Although it doesn't seem to be a problem in-house. Like, it is just a thing that, like, I mean, what ultimately, and this has been my point all week on it, what ultimately got described outside of the comparison of Bieniemy to Rivera to Del Rio by Rivera, which was all very stupid and silly and also incorrect in terms of who's doing the best job. But what ultimately what was quote-unquote outed was that some players went to their head coach because their offensive coordinator was doing things very differently, and they were like, what is going on here? They went to a guy they were more familiar with. He's like, go talk to Eric. They talked to Eric. They work it all out. Everyone's on the same page. That's effective leadership. That is good. That is very human and very natural within organizations of all kinds, nevertheless football teams. And on some level, Clinton, I feel like this is a bit of just a reflection of us, like the media, the football ecosystem, because it's a lot of fans too. It's not just media, like freaking out about this. But I also like there is an element of like, yeah, but we all know what the ecosystem is, and you just got to be smarter. So that's kind of where I was on it. But it's what is it that makes you say like I don't like what Ron did?
To me, there's an element of what we call in the community hit dogs holler, which is that for the fan base in particular, when something goes awry at the top that feels like it could have gone better, people tend to get anxious and get nervous. Now, to your point, I think you're exactly right. Grown men talking to each other about the issues that other grown men have with one another is completely normal, healthy, and for lack of a better term, safer than whatever else might have been the possibilities if somebody had, say, I don't know, festered disbelief all preseason long, and it turned out with, I don't know, a blow up on the sidelines in week one. That's not where we are. They got it out of their system, albeit publicly, but I do understand why people look at that and say, oh, no, here we go again. But in general, I think that this is an indication also specifically because this is such a unique circumstance of where Ron is. Ron is in a very interesting part of his coaching career with this franchise in terms of like, hey, this is supposed to be the year. It was supposed to be a couple years. None of it has happened yet. And if these are issues that are coming up on your team, well, then what's going to be the case once the actual regular season starts? Those are reasonable NFL questions from a franchise that is on the up and up.
Yeah, garden variety NFL problems. Clayton Yates with us here on the Hoffman Show, his Friday visit as he strolls through downtown L.A. After tape. Were you on radio today or TV today?
Yeah, I did radio today, and what we actually talked about is something that I know is not exactly super interesting to necessarily the football crowd, but Fernando Valenzuela, the left-handed Mexican who pitched for the Dodgers for many years, who is not in the Cooperstown Hall of Fame. He has not had his number retired by the Dodgers. Well, he's getting it retired today. The Dodgers have a policy in which they do not retire numbers of people that are in the Hall of Fame, but they've made an exception for Fernando, which is something that from a cultural impact standpoint, I'm very, very glad that they're doing. The numbers are one thing, and I don't want to get too far off into a Hall of Fame discussion, but one of the things that always makes me mad about being somebody that covers this sport is that when it comes down to it, people are so obsessed with numbers in a way that does not reflect the larger baseball populace. And to me, that's something that Fernando Valenzuela represents. A Mexican who came to L.A., represented the Mexican-American community and the immigrant community so well that they even turned fans back to Dodgers fans who decided they had sworn off that team because, they completely gentrified Chavez Ravine in order to build the stadium. Fernando Valenzuela's impact on Major League Baseball is impossible to overstate, and you cannot tell the story of the league without him, which is why I think he belongs in the Hall. I'll be at the game tonight.
Nice. That'll be very, very cool. Look forward to your coverage of that. I wanted to close out talking about the other big baseball story of the week, which is my good friend Kevin Brown, who is back on the broadcast tonight for the Orioles. And the question I want to ask you as someone who loves the game and is in the community of baseball, like, what did you make of baseball's reaction? When I say baseball, let's split it into two. Like the community of baseball, but also Major League Baseball just kind of staying silent while seemingly one of their actual organizations suspended their employee announcer for stating a basic fact that was in the media guide. Let's start with the community kind of rallying around Kevin first.
I like the community rallying around Kevin. I didn't love the silence to Major League Baseball, and quite frankly, I don't love the silence from the O's themselves. Anybody who's been around baseball in the Washington, D.C., metro area, and we'll just throw in Baltimore. Do not jump in my mentions, people. I know they're different. But anybody who's been around this game and been around this league understands that the Angeloses have been up to this forever. There's a reason why the Masson lawsuit dragged out 20-odd years or whatever it may be until literally this year as far as disputes and all sorts of other things. The Angeloses are the most sensitive, touchy ownership group in baseball, and it is generationally passed down. So while I was not surprised by the fact that this happened, it was very awkward to see MLB just sort of stand by while this kind of ridiculous stuff continues to go on. I feel bad for Kevin because he's going to come back. I believe he's coming back today on the telecast against the Mariners.
Yep.
And he's going to have to not talk about it. It's going to be complete silence. And that, to me, that's not fair to him. You know what I mean? He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't throw anybody under the bus. They threw him under the bus, and he's going to have to wear it. And he's one of the best broadcasters, young broadcasters in the game. And quite frankly, and I'll say this with my full throat, I hope he gets the hell out of Baltimore because they don't deserve it.
He had to put out I don't say he had to. I don't know if he had to or not. But he put out a couple of tweets that the more I read them, I was like, this feels like a hostage note.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't see the tweets, so pardon me on that, as I said before I was on air. But in general, it's just such a tough situation for somebody who, and this is why it's particularly galling, is because, hello, this is the best year the Orioles have had in a generation. How could you possibly be letting a storyline like this hijack your season when, hello, again, you are actually the best team in your division. You've got a very good shot at beating somebody in the playoffs. And frankly, a World Series run is not completely out of the question coming in the AL. It's just so tone deaf and so short-sighted. But that's typical of what the Angelos have been as far as them running this operation in a great baseball town that is Baltimore. Again, they deserve better.
Facts. And then I did see some funny tweets, though, because since July 23rd, when the Kevin's last broadcast, they have not been particularly great. And someone was like, I hope Kevin doesn't read the stat of their record when he's got suspended.
I mean, if I'm Kevin, I'm finding a way to bring that up without actually referencing it specifically, because the karma is no joke in this situation. And again, I believe in that kind of stuff. Relating it back to the Dodgers where I'm at in LA, you see these guys, they've got a terrible pitching staff, but they're winning games. They're dancing on the base paths, something that I think is the kind of vibe that you want out of your squad. You don't want people paying attention to what the broadcasters are doing when your team is, in fact, that good. It just doesn't make sense.
Nope, not at all. Clinton Yates, ESPN, read his work, Anscape.com. Of course, watch him on Around the Horn if you want more LA baseball, LA sports in general. He's on ESPN LA out there. So you ever hear him talking about something like, that's interesting, go check out the work on ESPN LA. All right, sir. I'll talk to you next week. Appreciate you, my friend.
Thanks, Gregory. I thought my boys were going to do it. They didn't, though. They no-hit him through 7 and got walked off. Proud of those young players, for sure. Tough stuff.
Shout out to Little League in Northwest. All right, appreciate it. See you, bro.
Later, buddy.
Clinton Yates, everybody, with us on ESPN. Northwest DC's own Clinton Yates with us here on the Hoffman Show. Anthony, just go ahead and chalk up a 5-point fine for me. What are we doing next?
I haven't talked to you about it, but I know what we're doing next.
Oh, an Anthony surprise? I don't even get fined for that. If there was nothing in the rundown, and Anthony didn't tell me, that's no fine for me. Anthony surprise special next. And if it sucks, Brian Mitchell's on after that. Here's what's trending.
Here's what's trending.
It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Brian Mitchell joins us from Cleveland, preview the Commanders and Browns at the top of the hour. Of course, B. Mitch on the call tonight. We'll grab him real quick at his hotel before he heads to the stadium. So we're looking forward to having B. Mitch at the top of the hour. Also, still to come. Do we have, that's our last guest today, right, Anthony? And then we're just straight talking ball. We got our would you watch it game coming up. We'll preview the rest of the NFL games, and then a recap of kind of what we're looking for as we get into our extra time tonight, 7 to 7:30. We are still on leading up to kickoff tonight as opposed to the usual end at 7. All of it, all 3.5 hours on YouTube at the Team 980. So, Anthony, on Monday at training camp, there is going to be it's something that is done annually with the Commanders. They've done it as long as I've been covering the team. USAA, the bank and insurance company with military ties, has an annual boot camp, and they have a bunch of soldiers come out to camp and go through the boot camp. But then they also, and I feel like they've done this before, maybe it was more like select media members are doing it, but this year there's kind of an open invite in the press release saying, hey, if you also would like to go through the boot camp, let us know. Now, much to at this, Anthony, I feel like what I'm about to say is going to break some hearts.
Uh-oh.
Neither of us are going to be at camp on Monday, which you're very sad about.
I'm very, very sad.
Because you wanted to do this.
Yes.
So it's, let me see if I can find everything. Here we go. 50 local military will compete in drills similar to those used by NFL coaches to evaluate NFL talent, including the 40-yard dash, broad jump, 3-cone shuttle, receiving gauntlet, and the QB arm challenge. This marks the 7th year that the USAA and the Commanders have hosted USAA Salute to Service NFL Boot Camp. And then they obviously have the media portion as well. We've been trying to figure out a time when you can run a 40 for a long time. And I'm kind of honestly at a point where I'm ready to run one.
Me too.
So, unfortunately, you've got a commitment, and I've got to keep my sanity because I'm going to the joint practices next week. And if your boy has to drive to Ashburn on Monday and Owings Mills on Tuesday and Wednesday, he is not going to be showing up for work by Thursday, which is not an option. So, we might just have to do this on our own. The thing is, I know how to do these drills. I know how to coach them up. I know how to set them up. I think we can do them. We can't do a receiving gauntlet on our own. And I don't know what the QB arm challenge is, but we can get a football and go throw it.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's an accuracy component to that. But I think we can get out on a field, whether it's next week is going to be hard because you're out tail end of the week.
Just Thursday.
Just Thursday? We could do it on Friday.
Okay.
We can go out to a field and, there's plenty of them around.
Actually, Friday I can do. I'll be traveling back to work on Friday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to do it another day.
Yeah.
So we'll figure out when. But, setting up a 3-cone shuttle is not hard. I have a timing device, a Jakku, that we can do, here's actually what's going to make it harder. Our times are going to be laser timed, which is typically way faster than, or way slower, I should say, 0.2 slower than hand timed. So our numbers will be more comparable to actual NFL people, in terms of how their times are recorded.
0.2 is a lot of seconds.
Yeah, it's the difference between a 4.6 and a 4.8.
Yeah.
Speaking of, if you had to guess what your times are, what's your 40-yard dash right now?
My 40 right now, I think I could run a 4.6, 4.7.
That's fast.
I think I can run a 4.6, 4.7.
That's fast. You are really fast. I've learned to not doubt you. By the way, you see your boy's Instagram story?
Who, yours?
Yeah. Popped a little 315 deadlift today.
I did see that. I didn't know what the numbers were for. Oh, it definitely did say deadlift.
Yeah.
So I think you did 5 of 2.
Yeah, those are all warm-ups. We had to just build it up.
Yeah.
Build it up.
Okay.
Got that 315. We're back.
Oh, man.
We're back up. We're back at closer to peak fitness. I think I could hit a 5.2 40 right now. People are like, that's not impressive. And I'm like, most people do not realize how fast even the slow linemen, quote unquote, slow linemen are. Like 5.2 is flying.
Mm-hmm.
Flying. I think I could get it though. That would be tough. But I don't know. Maybe I'm back in quick enough to break 5. I've done it before. Just that was years ago.
I'm also curious to run my 40 just because I keep telling Zaire, who ran, I think it was a 4.56 and then like a 4.61 or something like that. But he swears he's faster than me. And I keep telling him, I think I'm faster than you, bro. I think so. I don't know. So that's why I'm curious to run just to see how our times compare.
He didn't run at the combine. He didn't go to the combine, did he?
No, he did not.
Oh, we need his pro day. Come on, give me a pro day scores. He ran a 4.62. 4.62. His broad jump was 122 inches.
Yeah, I have no chance.
That's like 10 feet. That's 10
explosive.
Yeah, 122 divided by 12 is that's a yikes, bro. Yeah. That's a 10-2 broad. If I can get to 8 feet, I'd be psyched.
I don't even know if I'm getting there, Craig.
What about the 20-yard shuttle, which is the 5-10-5 drill?
I think I have a really good change of direction, so I think I would do well.
So Z ran a 4.22.
Ooh. Maybe I run I don't know. Maybe a 5. I don't know. I don't know how much slower I would be.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I think you could probably run it in like 4.5.
Yeah.
I've been timed in that by people who are really bad at timing around Z's time, but that's because the people like I was like at the first cone probably by the time they hit start because we weren't exactly professional timers. But I'm curious. I think I could get close to 5 on that. That one's the other thing too is like the 5-10-5 is technique based.
Yeah.
I know the steps that you're supposed to take. Who do you think could throw a football farther, me or you? What kind of arm you got?
So I'm like Lamar Jackson when he first came into the league. I think I can throw pretty far, but the accuracy isn't there. And also when I was at Syracuse, I was a intramural quarterback. So
I mean, so was I. It wasn't that hard to. There's not exactly a tryout for the team.
You're right. I think I could throw the ball probably about like 40, 45, 50 yards, somewhere around there.
50. That's a heave.
Yeah.
I think I could probably get 40.
Because yesterday I was throwing. Well, not yesterday. I think Tuesday I was throwing around the football like 35, 40 yards, like pretty easy. Well, not easy, but like I had to put some, into
you gotta get the legs into. You gotta do a little DAC hip warm up.
Yeah.
Get the hips going. I told you right when we did James's camp, I was being lazy and threw a bunch of my arm, and my just arm was ready to fall off, and I was like, okay, let's get the legs involved.
Yep.
Gotta salvage ourselves here. What are we doing? All right. So the thing is though, like, all due respect to the rest of the beat and the rest of the shows, if there was an athletic competition, this is why I find it genuinely annoying when the other shows like try to bring this stuff up. Our show would smoke every other show. There's a couple of like younger dudes that are fine athletes, like, but every other show has either a weak link or no strong ones.
Yeah, I think our biggest challenge would probably just be bench. That's about it.
Yeah, 100%. And if my biggest challenge athletically is a guy that belongs in the NFL Hall of Fame, I'm fine with that. Speaking of Brian Mitchell, he joins us next here on the Team 980.
Catching the Junks here. PVI Office Furniture has been servicing
I tried to warn you, bro. It is a mess in downtown Nashville every day of the week and twice on Sunday. Not even
we moved hotels the next night. I still am waiting on my refund for that. But yeah, we moved hotels the second night.
Wow.
It was fun. You say they rely on them. We went to brunch with my buddy the next day, who is a Nashville native and has lived in Nashville long enough that he remembers when it was more than just the bachelorette capital of the world. And he's like, yeah, we're pretty much on the woo girl economy.
Yeah, that's precisely what's going on. The downtown businesses cater to that. If you try to get it shut down, you're probably the one getting thrown out. It is what it is right now. It's weird, but Nashville, baby. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. So I will add one more small part to this story, and this is the part, frankly, that I've been waiting to tell you all week as well. That was kind of part one. We got quality Yates reaction. Part two, as we leave the hotel the next morning to go to breakfast. Remember, the wall's very thin. So it's not going where you think it's going. But as we walk down the hallway, my dear sweet wife just starts saying in a slightly elevated volume of voice, you know, it's been proven that the later groups stay out and make noise and all this stuff at their bachelorette weekend, the higher the divorce rate in the wedding,
So
and also the better
trash,
chances,
basically.
and also the better chances.
Wow. Okay. Okie dokie. So Rachel was pissed, basically.
Yeah, she doesn't have a lot of tolerance for the woo girls. They say on the internet, like, feel free to post stuff, you know, like your friends' photos, do whatever. But like whatever you do for your own well-being, don't read the comments. Comment section, bad idea. What do?
We read those comments, baby.
That is exactly what we do. That was a little bit better. I still feel like that one was a little muted. I think sometimes it feels like you build yourself up a little too much, and then sometimes you don't quite go for it.
I ain't want to go screaming all the way. The thing is, though, my mic is a little lower than yours, so maybe I could have actually, did what I really.
Mic also moves. You can go, ooh. Did you know you could play tricks with a microphone?
I think I'll try that next time.
Okay. You want to give it another shot?
We read those comments, baby.
There we go. All right. I feel ready now. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live too on YouTube, youtube.com/@theteam980. And if you're watching, you see the lovely, should be in the Hall of Fame face of Brian Mitchell with us from Cleveland, where he is on the call. You'll see his face on your television later too, on the call with Chick Hernandez and Logan Paulson tonight. B-Mitch, I don't know how much color commentary you've done. Like, this new for you? First time since when? Like, what you feeling, man? It's just a little bit till kickoff.
First time since 2004. Actually, I did some games. I did 3 games in NFL Europe. And I think this will be a lot easier because it's a lot of storylines. And I'm around the team, and I talk about this team every day. But when I went to Europe, half of that team was basically names I'd never heard of, people I'd never heard of. And but it was fun. Got used to it. I was offered this opportunity, and I love this football team, so I wanted to at least give it a try.
Yeah, no, it should be really fun. We've, obviously I talked to Logan a bunch of times throughout the week. And he did this last year, and Chick's such a pro. And you guys have been working together for a long time, so it should be a lot of fun to watch you guys tonight. When you open the broadcast tonight, and they're like, "All right, Brian," or Chick's like, "All right, Brian, what's your number one thing?" What are you going to tell them?
Well, my number one thing would be basically no injuries. That's what everybody's number one thing should be. But ultimately, the big question is about the offensive line and Sam Howell. And my whole thing, when I give the keys to the game, protect the quarterback. And if this offensive line, if this team is going anywhere, it's going to be because the offensive line came together, they gelled, and played well. During training camp, they have been getting whipped by the defensive line. But now you're going against another team, fresh blood. You can cut them. You can't cut your own guys in practice. So it gives you a chance to go out there and show what you're about. And just looking at how this offense handles the offense that Eric Bieniemy has installed. I look at the defense. They played great last year. I expect them to take a step with some of the young corners that they drafted and things of that nature. But I think my biggest question is on the offensive side of the football. Let's see how quick they can get up to speed.
Brian Mitchell, of course, with us here on the Hoffman Show, host of B. Mitch and Finley middays over on 106.7 The Fan and on the broadcast tonight on NBC4. So you always hear in the preseason, and you know this as well as anyone, and you can probably speak to this too from your days with Andy back in Philly. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't game plan. It's a vanilla offense. You don't want to give away too much. But we also know that one of the ways they're going to protect Sam Howell is with the play calling. So, what do you expect? Like, how do those two ideas mesh tonight to not show too much, but give Howell the best opportunity to be successful?
Well, a lot of the things in this offense, a lot of the base plays are quick passes, getting the ball into the hands of the running backs on a swing, on a flat route, getting the ball quickly into the hands of your receivers, running the jet sweeps and things of that nature. This is not special plays for Andy Reid. These are normal plays. So I think that's the thing about that. Also helps the offensive line out. You're getting the ball at your hand real quick. They get to get the hands of the defensive players down, and that would help them out. But I think ultimately Andy's always still wanted to run the football. And I see Eric as a former running back, and with the running backs he has, wanting to run the ball still while doing some of those other things, because you look at some of the things they're doing, from the running around in a circle, the ring around the rosy thing, and all of those things, they like to have fun. Andy Reid was like that when I was with him in Philadelphia. I expect Eric to be the same way. And I just hope some of these players, the Terry McLaurins on this team, the Jahan Dawson, those guys take some ownership and use some of their creativity and let him know, because he will get it involved into the plays.
Yeah, no, that was the cool thing about Quarterback on Netflix. Like, you see how much Mahomes and Kelsey specifically have an impact on everything. Speaking of things that I've been wanting to pick your brain about from your days with Andy, and I think it folds nicely into this part of the conversation. He has been the best coach of the screen game for 30 years running in the NFL. Yeah. Why is he so good at it, and is that something that you think Bieniemy has brought with him?
I think the thing about Andy, most of his screens are ran off of plays that they do ordinarily. A lot of teams, when they get ready to run a screen, it's normally third and long or some situation where they know the guys are coming at them, so they try to catch them off guard, which means that team is also looking for those things. Well, Andy will run a screen on 1st and 10. He'll run it on 3rd and 1, at any opportune time, and he runs a lot of stuff off of play-action fakes and things of that nature. One thing I love about the system, and you see a lot of this in training camps because you've been out there, where Eric has a lot of motion, a lot of movement in that offense. And what happens when you have a lot of movement is everybody has to make the proper calls. One mistake is somebody could go the distance. I watched a play the other day where they threw a screen to Hodges, and AG was running a swing route and kept going, and Eric was so excited about him going up the sideline because that gets the linebacker to turn his back. That one linebacker runs out of the play, you got a big crease right there. So Andy is so good because it comes at times you don't expect it, and it also comes off a plain play. It doesn't change everything. Because most times I was on with Norv, and when Norv had a screen game, it was a completely different look. Well, I'm sure they have a key. They see that look, screen is coming. With Andy, you never know.
Brian Mitchell with us here on the Hoffman Show. How much do you think the story of the week, the Ron comments about Eric and all the hoopla that followed it, how much does that infiltrate into tonight?
I don't think it infiltrates tonight at all. I had a conversation with Eric, and he's like, man, I'm good. I'm past that, bro. I'm trying to get this team better. And I think that's the way you have to be. Listen, we all know something comes up, and let's be, Ron put his foot in his mouth as he stated, and you get past it, but we in the media now, we like to discuss it and we want to talk about it. But I think they understand there's a lot at hand right now. And Eric, as he's concerned about the football, not that. I don't know why it came up or who complained about what, but let's be real. It's training camp. Why should it be easy? It's supposed to be difficult. It's supposed to be the toughest thing you're going to do all year. And I think they've been doing that. And I was talking with Jack in a production meeting. He has enjoyed it because it also makes more competition for his defensive players, which in turn makes them better.
Yeah, no, it's funny as we talked through it this week, because I from what I saw of what you had to say about it and what I said about it, like we definitely came at it from different angles, but I think people would be surprised how much we agree about it. Like, it's training camp, it sucks. It's incredibly human to be like, damn, this sucks. And ultimately, like, I think what was cool is to see, and I agree with you that Ron, in part because he should have known that it would cause a firestorm. Like, but what he ultimately described was like, hey, go to Eric and work it out. And people did, and they worked it out. And like, that's good. Should he have known better? Yes. I think that's a whole different topic. We don't need to get back into it. But I do think what has certainly emerged is what you just said. Like, it doesn't seem to be a problem in the building. And like, I'd imagine you try to put your player hat on at times this week and like, think about what it would have been like if you were one of the ones who initially went to Ron and how that might have been framed. Or, if you didn't and you heard one of your teammates, like, does this stuff matter in a locker room at all? Or is it just like, oh, that's media noise on the outside and you're able to kind of tune it out?
I don't think it's media noise on the outside. And I think, I've been in that same situation where other people went to the coach complaining. And I've always been a leader on the team. And I was the NFL player rep. Okay, NFLPA rep. And when I got to Philadelphia, I got to the executive committee level where I was a vice president. And I would go to Andy a lot of times if I saw something and say, Coach, I'm not calling the PA, but I'm just letting you know if they were to show up, what would happen. They'll catch somebody. Because everything Andy Reid did, I felt that he was getting the best out of us. We were getting something from it, and it was there for a reason. So I had no problem with it. So I never had, and when I found out whoever was complaining, I would go and talk to him, because overall, let's be real, this team, after 3 years, they can't get complacent and be happy about anything. They need to be accepting or receptive to whatever comes to them. Eric comes from a team that went to 3 Super Bowls. They won 2. Why wouldn't you want to listen to that? Because I left here as a guy who had gone 2-a-days all the time in training camp. And training camp was like a month back then with Joe Gibbs. Norv Turner with the 2 hours and a half, 2 hours, 45-minute practices in gear full time. I go to Andy and we don't have any gear on. Like, training camp is easier for him now. With Andy, we go 3 days of 2-a-days, and then the rest of the time we never go 2-a-days again. But we went pads in the morning, shells in the afternoon. Pads in the morning, special teams practice in the afternoon. Those things happen. But we ran as if we were in a track meet. And I went to him one day, I said, damn, Coach, I didn't know it could be so difficult. I said, can we wear pads tomorrow? And he said, no, I'm getting you in shape. I want to make you have to move around so much. You watch him running down to the goal line, sprinting jogging back to the huddle, jogging in the huddle. All those things pays off. I use the example of this. Josh Norman would practice, after practice, an hour to an hour and a half. If I'm a head coach and I see that, I would think I didn't do enough. I didn't work him enough. Because if you got an hour and a half extra after practice, I'm not doing something I'm supposed to do. I look at my record from the previous years. We are below 500. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. I felt that Ron had just went to, look, the guys came to me and said, this is a little tough, man. Coach, what's going on? Go talk to Eric. We figured it out, but this is what we've come together with, and this is what we're going to do. Case closed. I would have never talked about that. Well, he hadn't been a head coach because Ron played for 2 people that were head coaches. And guess what? They never soften up. So it doesn't mean when you become a head coach, you become a little softer. You become understanding, but still, you feel you put something together to get everybody out there to be their best, not just some guys to be their best.
Yeah, B. Mitch with us here on the Hoffman Show. That was the one part that really bothered me was the comparison to Del Rio, and I'm like, and himself obviously, and it's like, yeah, man, I don't know that your forgiving nature is exactly worked out for you. I think there's something about the rigidity to, because like everyone sees Andy as like this super nice guy, and he is like he's an all-time dude in the NFL. But he's uncompromising. Like he knows what he wants, and he's gonna get it a certain way, and you're gonna do it that way. And obviously Eric is the same way. And I think that was the disservice to Eric. I'm curious though, like when you compare the coaches you played for along that style, and obviously as we've talked about now for 10 minutes straight, like you have the insight into the way Andy did things, which is heavily influenced the way Eric has. Like, what is it like in that, like, I guess the adjustment period? Like, what is it that those players were experiencing where they're looking around, and whether they should have gone to Ron or not, they're going, damn, this is hard. Like, this is different. This is like, what is that adjustment like to get in shape like this and to also learn kind of the volume of plays that Eric is putting on them, the mental load?
But the thing about it for me, I think if you're looking at the end result you want, you go through it. I think when he first
100%.
He said, we have to get uncomfortable to be comfortable. See, this team has been comfortable, and we're losing. So I got to take you somewhere you haven't been to get to where you want to go. And I think that's what he's trying to do. And, you know, the other narrative is like, oh, he's yelling, he's getting on players. But I also see him yelling, telling players, great job. That's what I'm talking about. Keep doing that. You know, that doesn't get enough attention as well because, you know, I've always let coaches be like this. If you're a quiet person, be quiet. If you're a yeller, yell. But don't go up and down on me. You know, don't wait till the fans come out the media, then you want to yell, and then you very scared and tired and shy the next time. Now, I don't deal with coaches like that. Joe Gibbs, Andy Reid were some of the quietest coaches I've ever dealt with. But you know one thing they expected? They gave you the criteria. They gave you a game plan. And they expected you to take full like ownership of it. They don't want to have to constantly tell you, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. No, you come out here, this is professional football. And they both expected when you came on the field, you were prepared, ready to go, and gave your all. I think Eric does it the same way. Joe Gibbs had Wayne Sevier. He also had Richie Pettibone. They yelled and they would curse you out, MF you all day. Andy Reid had John Harbaugh, okay? So every coach that's quiet also has a guy on the team that's going to let you know what you need to know. They may not, that's not their personality. But when Andy or Joe would say, let's start practice over, we knew they meant business. You know, Eric just don't let you get all the way through a whole practice and or get through 45, 50 minutes. He's going to correct you immediately, and I think I would respect that more.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's the thing is like, you know, we can have all these conversations that are about labeling people as this or that. Well, like at the end of the day, the standard is the standard. Like you've got to meet it. And it's about getting on the same page, which I think is ultimately like the good news in this story is at least that's what everyone's saying. They're on the same page publicly. I'll tell you that much. Hopefully they are behind the scenes. Brian Mitchell with us for a few more minutes here on the Hoffman Show, getting ready for his preseason debut tonight with Chick and Logan on the TV broadcast. All right, defensively tonight, Brian, what are you looking for? I mean, obviously all eyes are going to be on Chase, but what are you looking for defensively, you know, to see from Chase and obviously beyond Big 99?
Just like I talked with Jack the other day, and Jack said he wanted to see the guys play fast and play with an understanding that they know what they're doing. That's what I always want to see. I want to see guys be able to go out there and just react. I don't want to see thinking. You know, I want to see Emmanuel Forbes get out and show people that stop looking at my size and just look at how I played. You know, that young safety tandem. They have a lot of safeties out there that can actually play. I think that's one of the toughest positions they're going to have come down because everybody has something with them. And then ultimately, I want to see how Cody Barton is. I want to see how he and Jamin Davis are playing. We talked about linebackers at length last year. We felt that was the weak link of it. But all of a sudden, we have Chase come back and we got away from it. I want to see the linebackers play with an understanding and with a speed while they're in there. I don't expect to see the starters play very, very long, you know, but I want to see them have an understanding. And that goes across all boards. You know, I don't want to see delay of games Okay, on the offensive side. I don't want to see them coming out of the huddle with 5 seconds so they got to rush and they may not get all the reads. I want the play to be in there quick. That's on Eric. I want Sam to spit it out, Jacoby when he gets in, Jake when he gets in, get to the side, get to the huddle, get to the line of scrimmage and go. And on the defense, I need everybody running to the ball. I want to see a turnover. That's something that they said. We got Emmanuel Ford because he's a turnover machine, and they have to try to create more turnovers. If we can see them flying to the ball, because when you fly to the football, ball might pop out. If you're not flying to it, you won't be able to get it.
Right. Defensively, I think it's going to be interesting to kind of who stays in, who pops out quick, and in part because they rotate so heavily in the secondary. There has not been a day where the same rotation exists in training camp, at least that I've seen. There seems to be a kind of a line of ones across the board, but it also depends on the package. Is there anybody that you think we'll see a little bit more of, maybe like a Quan Martin tonight, where you might see some extended run, whether it's in the same spot or different spots as they rotate around?
Well, Quan, I think you may see a little bit more of him, and you may see him from different spots. I think they have the belief that this kid could be an outside corner. He can play inside nickel. He can also play some safety. And I think what they do, like you're absolutely right, they do so many packages. I can see them trying to use him at that what they call it, the Buffalo nickel sometimes. I can see those things. Also, I think they have a lot of excitement about the young pass rushers. One guy I expect to see a lot from is Andre Jones Jr. And I'm so thrilled to see that because it's another kid from UL Lafayette. So, we got Percy Butler there. We have Farad Gardner there and also Andre. It's just, they're making me happy, being in this league for so long and, not seeing a ton of guys from our school get to places. And now 3 of them are in camp competing for a job. So, I love that. But Andre, what I asked Eric and I also asked Jack, do you look at the special team aspect of a player? And both of those coaches to a man say yes. Because if the guy can't play special teams and he's not one of our starters, how the hell is he really going to help us? You want him to be able to play the position, but we need some guys that, and Andre looked 6'4". He can run. He did it down at our UL Lafayette. So I'm going to be really watching him closely tonight because they spoke highly of him, and I want to pay more attention to him to see what he does.
2 more quick things. I was going to do one, but then you mentioned special teams, and you're you, so I have to ask you about special teams. Like, this is the first game we'll see the new kickoff rules, obviously, and then you have the kind of usual preseason special teams alignment.
Yeah.
What are you What are you trying to take out of special teams tonight? When it's 4th down and punt, either punt coverage or punt returns on the field. Like, for those of us watching, where should we be looking?
Well, I think the return game, you got a lot of returners out there. Cashmere Allen is another guy. Dax Milne has shown he can catch the ball. He's secure with it. But then I think you need to start looking for a position where you can be explosive at that position. Cashmere Allen, Pringle, those guys can do some things for you. What you're also looking at, the guys that are covering, how fast can they get down there? Can they get off of blocks? Those type of things. Guys that are trying to block out. In this game, I wouldn't fair catch a ball, okay? I would tell my guys, look, grab it and go for it. Because what you want to do, if you don't get to the 25, it's preseason. Who gives a damn? I need to see my offense run a lot of plays anyway. But what if a kid could go break one? I want to be able to see that. If guys are out there fair catching in preseason, that would be absolutely ridiculous in my mind.
Yeah, no, punt, fine. Kickoff, just go.
Yeah.
And a reminder on punt tonight, we will not see Tress Way, in case anyone missed it earlier this week. Colby Wadman was signed to
number
punt.
0.
Tress will be punter number 0. Because why not? It's preseason football, baby. Let's go.
Be good though, wearing number 0.
I think he's another lefty too, which I love. It's like, we need a Tress impersonator. Get us a lefty punter. Last thing, you mentioned Jacoby getting the plays out a few minutes ago. How much do you expect to see him tonight? Because he's in a weird spot. Like he is very important to this team as the veteran backup, as the fail-safe in case either Sam were to get hurt or obviously things go sideways with Sam and he's just not as good as they want him to be. So he's very important.
Yeah.
But now you got him behind a second-string offensive line. How much do you anticipate seeing Jacoby tonight?
I think if you see a good drive from Sam with the first-team offensive line, Jacoby will get a chance with the first-team offensive line, and he may get a few snaps with the second-team offensive line. But I think they're looking at both of these guys, just like you said, they're very important. They're not looking at him as a backup. They're looking at him as they are 1A and 1B, and they got to make sure that they protect them, because I think the mindset is, as long as I have Sam in there, I want to have the top linemen, I want to have the top receivers. But we can interchange some of the receivers. Jacoby, you want to give him a chance as well. Jake would probably have to be running for his life later in the game.
Sorry, Jake Fromm. It's got to be someone, and turns out it's you. Brian Mitchell, be on the broadcast tonight, and, of course, be talking about this all next week with JP, 10 to 2 on 106.7 The Fan. B. Mitch, always a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Definitely, man. Take care.
This is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.
Here's what we need to do right now. I'm tired of hearing about this basketball game. We're scheduling this game.
He challenged me.
You challenged me. Don't say I challenged you.
Either way.
I came.
No. Don't either way this.
I mean,
because you know what you sound like? You sound like you're trying to weasel out of this.
Yeah, he is, Craig. He knows
there's no
what he's
weaseling
doing.
out of the actual playing of the game. I'm not worried about that.
11 a.m. Saturday, right?
All right, 11 a.m. on
11
Saturday.
a.m. Saturday.
God.
There's two.
Six.
And one.
Guard up the nail.
Little recap?
It was somehow worse for Linnell than I thought it was going to be.
right, 1 hour to go on the Hoffman Show. 1 hour till kickoff of Browns and Commanders. We are taking you. That's right. You did hear me correctly. We are going all the way till 7:30 tonight. Anthony Haney, super producer there. Craig Hoffman here. This here is our radio show that we do every single day. Also streaming live on YouTube, which has been absolutely popping all day long. YouTube.com/@theteam980. All right, and we got a new game that we're gonna play. And as promised, we have the help of drunk Draymond Green, one of the greatest moments in the history of parade celebrations. The game that we're going to play is called Will You Watch That? And, of course, the answer is either or nope. Simple as that. Simple as that. We either got or nope. Okay, then. All right, you ready to go, sir? Okay, that was good. I actually, for some reason, didn't see that coming, which really is a reflection of me, because it begged for that. Tonight in Cincinnati, Paycor Stadium. That should be a fun game we play till at least week 4. Can we name the NFL stadium? So we learned earlier, it's Cleveland Browns Stadium now. It's no longer First Energy Stadium. Paycor Stadium could have threatened my life, and I would not have gotten that one right. That's the new name of the stadium in Cincinnati, where the Bengals are hosting the Packers. Anthony Haney, will you watch that? I am with you.
Got to see that boy Jordan Love. Got to see how he looks. But
exactly.
That's all I'm there for. I'm not there, look at the Bengals. They'll be without Joe Burrow tonight.
Yeah, he's hurt. Nevertheless, probably wouldn't play in this game anyway.
Yeah, that too.
So I guess I'm a little bit interested in how the Bengals look without Burrow, just in case he misses time. But that's not worth watching. Jordan Love, to me, is one of the 5 to 10 most intriguing stories in the entire league this year. This is a guy that has been sitting behind Aaron Rodgers, and the Packers felt good enough about. I mean, in a way, it's like what happened with Rodgers years ago. Obviously, he sits behind Brett Favre, and then eventually it's like, yo, we got to play this kid. He's good. I feel like this is more about the fact that Rodgers was doing all his wacky stuff, and they just didn't want to deal with Rodgers anymore, and they knew eventually they were going to have to move on. But they could have traded Love at any point and probably gotten some amount of return for him. And they drafted him a couple of years ago because Rodgers was getting up there in age, and you didn't know when he was going to retire. And turns out they are going to turn the keys over to Jordan Love with enough time to get a season's worth of info before they got to decide on what to do with him in the long term. So this is step 1 of that process. It's also a huge challenge for LaFleur as a head coach. You look great when you got Aaron Rodgers. What happens now? I think he's one of the better minds in football. He's obviously, part of the same Shanahan, McVay coaching tree. But what does he do? How do they organize their offense? I think they'll be pretty run heavy, a lot of play action. And also, it's a test. I think this is more Green Bay season as a whole than tonight, but all those young weapons that drove Rodgers nuts last year, do some of them step up and make strides, and obviously can they help out Jordan Love? So for me, drunk Draymond, I am interested in watching this one. Yeah. All right. Game number 2 to Detroit. Anthony, first of all, what's the name of the stadium in Detroit?
Pepco.
No.
I don't know.
Ford Field. Come on.
I'm not going to get any of these stadiums unless it's the Patriots, but they played yesterday.
Okay. They're Gillette.
Yep.
A little razor.
Yes, sir.
Get your shave on. Ford. Drive a car there. All right. Giants and Lions. Yeah, I'm going to have to go yup. Why do you go yup?
I'm going yup just because I want to see Jahmyr Gibbs. Did you see the highlight of him destroying Bobby Okereke on a wheel route?
No, I did not.
He flew past him. I'm excited to see him. I don't think we're going to see too much of Goff, but I would expect to see, the Lions offense and defense out there. Aiden Hudson, he's back. They got somebody else defense, but I can't think of who they got. But I'm excited to see this revamped offense and defense of the Lions behind our guy Dan Campbell.
Yeah, they took Jack Campbell in the first round. It could be interesting to see him start to play. But my number one go-to I'm interested in watching is if there's a young quarterback involved. I don't know what to make of the fact that they just signed Teddy Bridgewater, but that can't be a great sign for Hendon Hooker, can it?
I mean, you could just have. Yeah, I don't think it's a great sign.
I mean, I haven't read anything about it. So for all I know, like Hendon Hooker got hurt, and I'm about to sound like a big dum-dum who hasn't paid enough attention to teams outside of Washington. But like, I want to see Hendon Hooker tonight. I want to see how he looks. He's probably going to play with the 2s or the 3s. So let's see how he looks. By the way, the Lions have 5 quarterbacks on the roster now. They got Teddy, who they just signed.
Good gracious.
Goff, Hooker, Adrian Martinez, who's a rookie out of Kansas State, and Nate Sudfeld.
Who they had last year as well.
Yeah, old Nate.
Dang.
It's crazy. They only got 4 quarters. They got 5 quarterbacks. What are you going to do? I probably wouldn't play my starters, by the way, if I was them. Yep. Because they were joint practicing with the Giants, if I do believe.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's that. So we got 2 for 2. We got some preseason action to watch at 7 o'clock. Too bad we got to do another half-hour radio.
Yep.
I mean, I'm excited to do it, but these are good games.
I'm going to put it on in the back just so you can see it and I can see it.
Yeah, that's a good call. All right, Falcons and Dolphins, 7 o'clock tonight. At what stadium in Miami, Anthony? What's the stadium called?
I know this one.
Come on. Come on.
Can we come back later in the segment to answer this question? I know
No, it's not that important. It's Hard Rock Stadium. We got to move on. We got to keep going. All right, Anthony, do you want to watch this game?
Yeah.
Okay. Man, Anthony is in for some preseason football. But I'm not going to lie to you, man. I'm with you too.
Yeah.
Desmond Ridder, a young quarterback who's got a big question, who actually should play. Also, Bijan's debut. Yeah, like I'm kind of interested in the first quarter of this one.
Yep.
I got nothing on the Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm not interested in looking at the Dolphins. I don't think we're going to see too much of their starters, but Desmond Ridder sort of kind of been in the same situation as Sam Howell.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he did get a little bit more
but
experience.
But he's a way bigger investment for them.
Yeah, he is.
So.
Yeah. Oh, interesting to see how he looks. Bijan, then you got Kyle Pitts, so yeah.
Yeah, Bijan's first action, definitely interested. All right, Steelers and Bucks in Tampa. What's the stadium name?
In Tampa?
Yeah. It's been the same one forever.
Not going to get it crazy.
Old RJS. What's RJ stand for? Come on.
RJ?
Yeah.
Raymond James Stadium.
Yeah!
Yeah, baby.
Got it. Unfortunately for the Bucks and Steelers, I have no interest in this game.
Nope.
What about you?
Craig? Nope.
Nope.
Yeah, nothing. Kenny Pickett, whatever. You're like, in some ways, this is a credit to the Steelers because it's like, you're just a bunch of grown-ups. We trust you. We'll see you in the regular season. And then the Bucks are like not interesting as a football team. I don't care about the Bucks in the regular season.
Yeah, the Baker Mayfield and I'm good off that.
All right. And then tonight, Broncos Cardinals in Arizona. What's the stadium name?
In Arizona?
Yeah.
NRG.
No. That's
Dang,
Houston.
it's not?
No, that's Houston.
Oh.
State Farm Stadium.
I'm really bad at this.
Yeah. It's okay. You want to know? I'm just happy that I get to do the quizzing and not get quizzed because I would be better than you, but not by enough.
Yeah.
Any interest in this game?
Nope.
I'm going to go a very slight yup. I don't know full drunk Draymond, but like a Draymond answering a question on a normal day. We don't have that soundbite, so just hit me with the drunk Draymond.
Yeah.
Thing I never thought I'd say. Hit me with the drunk Draymond. Eric mentioned this earlier. Eric Edholm, when he was on the show at 4:30. I want to see what the Sean Payton Broncos team looks like. Like, there's an old school, like, hard-nosed, uncompromising nature to Sean Payton. And so does Russell Wilson play? And if so, what does it look like? So I am actually curious, really just for like the first series, but I'm curious. So that's the games tonight. You got a bunch more tomorrow. All right. To Orchard Park, New York, a.k.a. Buffalo. What's the name of the stadium, Anthony?
Does it start with a B?
No.
Well,
Highmark Stadium.
Yeah.
Your boys, the Colts and the Bills. Interest?
Yeah.
Interest if they weren't your team?
Nope.
Really?
I'm joking. Of course I got to see Anthony Richardson.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. Anthony Richardson's first start. He is going to start this game. Hell yeah, I'm interested in this. One of the most interesting prospects of the last, I don't know, decade and a half. Just in case people forgot from draft time, this dude is bigger than Cam Newton, faster than Cam Newton, throws the ball as hard as Cam Newton.
Farther than Cam Newton?
Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy. So yeah, I'm interested in that one. That's a 1 o'clock kick tomorrow. Titans and Bears it's in Chicago at. If you don't get this one, you're going to kick yourself because you know this one.
Nope.
Soldier Field.
Dang.
That's one of those where you're psyching yourself out.
Yeah, I'm in my head already. I'm like, I don't know any of these. That's what's happening right now.
Yeah.
I'm not being mentally strong.
I am not super interested in this one, if we're being completely honest.
Nope.
But there's a little Will Levis intrigue.
Bears versus who?
Titans.
Nope.
Yeah, like it's hard for like a guy like Will Levis to not be interesting, but the Titans are just not interesting to me. I just don't think they're going to be good, and I don't know what they're doing, like signing a DeAndre Hopkins. All right, Jets and Panthers at what stadium in Charlotte?
In Charlotte?
Yeah.
See, if this was New York, I would have got it.
It's not. It's in Charlotte. Looking for Bank of America Stadium. That one I definitely would have gotten. I would have gotten because I've been to many, many games there.
Beyonce was just down there. Dang.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Where has Beyonce performed recently? That should be.
Yeah.
Should have gotten that one. This is a big old yup. Assuming Bryce Young plays, number 1 overall pick. Also, you might get your first Aaron Rodgers action after he didn't play in the Hall of Fame game. I think this is certainly one of the more like this is one that if we're home tomorrow in that window, I will make a point to flip on NFL Network and watch it.
Yeah.
What time?
4 o'clock.
I don't know if I'm gonna be home for that, but if I
theoretically, if you were available,
yeah,
that's a year.
For real, I just need 30 minutes though. 30 minutes
right.
at 4 o'clock. That's
right.
all you need.
We don't need to watch all these teams all the way through. We're just trying to get some starters in. Or like an intriguing backup. All right, Jags and Cowboys at what stadium in Dallas?
Jerry's World.
That's basically the correct answer. AT&T Stadium.
Yes.
Any interest in you for this one?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Really?
I see that boy Calvin. Really, if the Jags play their starters, I would love to see how Calvin really fits in.
Yeah,
I think their offense is gonna be so dynamic. And for fantasy football purposes, you better go and get Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with anything you said. It does not make me want to watch a preseason game. All right, if you don't get this one, I'm going to be upset.
Oh, man.
Eagles-Ravens in Baltimore.
M&T Bank Stadium. Duh.
There you go. All right, good job, man. Good job.
Yeah.
Crushed it. This is 7 o'clock tomorrow night on NFL Network. I'm actually very intrigued for this one. This is the full all the beers to Draymond.
Yeah.
Lamar's first action since all the contract stuff. Obviously, get a little bit like this one. I would watch a little bit more of because it gives me a little preview of next week.
Next week
with the joint practices. Eagles side, whatever. Don't really care about that. See you in the regular season. Chargers and Rams battle for LA at
SoFi.
Which team is the home team? That's cheating. That's a mean thing I just did to you. The correct answer is technically the Rams. Any interest in this one?
Nope.
Yeah, we're good. Sunday, quick, we got two more. Chiefs and Saints at what in New Orleans?
The Mercedes-Benz Superdome.
Oh, you were correct until like 2 years ago when they changed it to the Caesars Superdome. You hate to see it. At least you knew it was the Superdome. If you've never been there,
Hold on, so it's no longer Mercedes-Benz?
Nope. They have
Oh, it's
Mercedes-Benz
Caesars.
Stadium in Atlanta, but the Superdome is now the Caesars Superdome.
Okay.
Any interest in this one?
Nope.
Yeah, I think I'm good on that one. Like Derek Carr's debut is not really doing it for me.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, Niners, Raiders, Bay Area former battle, but now it's in Vegas because that's where the Raiders play. And what stadium do they play in, Anthony?
Hold it. This is in Vegas?
Yeah.
Allegiant.
There you go.
Easy, baby.
Finishes strong. Any interest in this one for you?
Yeah. I want to see what the quarterback situation is.
I do too.
Out in San Fran.
I want to see if Sam Darnold looks good. I'm honestly more interested in that than Purdy.
Though. Is it going to be Purdy?
I think Purdy's going to start. I mean, he's apparently been playing well, but I am more interested in Darnold because I think Darnold, obviously, like a former first-round pick, has the higher upside. Like, what if Darnold just wins the job? I don't even know if that's on the table. Like, I think they want Purdy to win it, and they're going to make sure that he does. But there's a chance that, like, especially if he's playing against a bunch of twos, that he goes out there and lights it up. So we'll see. All right, that is our brand new game that will last the preseason. Are we going to watch that with the help of drunk Draymond Green?
Yeah.
And when we get back, it's had this segment existed, we would have just used Draymond on repeat for days after that parade. Real things, real people said in real microphones. We will do it next, although our show is not over until 7:30 as we count you down to kickoff here on the Team 980.
Here's what's trending on the Team.
right, it's the Hoffman Show. Back to Commanders-Browns preview at the top of the hour, but every single day here on the show as we wrap up at 7 o'clock, or just before 7 o'clock, we do Real Things Real People Said into real microphones. So we figured we keep this segment here before we get into our bonus pregame coverage from 7 to 7:30. Got a couple good ones today, so let's hit it.
Real things.
We're not gonna be sucked this year.
Do I need to give you an out time, or you just, yeah?
Said into real microphones.
You know, the culture is actually damn good.
You know where the culture wasn't great? Chip Kelly's Philadelphia Eagles. There's some stories that came out of that time. Miles Jack, former NFL linebacker, and also played running back at UCLA. Right? I got the right guy, right, Anthony?
Yep.
He apparently was very quickly out of Chip Kelly's, or very quickly in Chip Kelly's Philadelphia Eagles teams. He had, I guess, gotten cut from the Jags, was a free agent in training camp one year, and all of a sudden, this happened.
Saturday afternoon, I'm working out at the house. Next thing I know, I'm on the FaceTime with the GM while I'm working out. They're telling me they're going to fly me in. Saturday night, I fly in at 10. My flight gets delayed till 3. I got to work out Sunday afternoon, so I'm jet lagged. I got a return flight, so I don't know if I'm staying or not. I go work out. Everybody tells me thanks for coming. Thinking I'm going back home. Next thing I know, I'm getting signed. I got 2 pairs of drawers, two pairs of sweats, 2 pairs of socks to my name, my Bible in my bag. Like, I don't have anything. I'm staying at the hotel, so I wouldn't rather have it any other way, man. I'm here now, and I went to Ross, bought me some white T-shirts, and I'm here now. You know what I mean? So that's how it goes. You know what I mean? They give you a playbook, and the next day you out there practicing on Monday. Well, Monday was a day off, so I had to get my physical and everything. I'm running, ripping and running, trying to figure everything out. Meet with the coach Tuesday, you practicing. Today, you know what I mean, you're in full pass. So that's just how life goes, man. One week you're on the couch playing Call of Duty, the next week you playing with the Super Bowl champions.
And I apologize for this. I got 2 stories mixed up. I saw another story about a guy who got like tossed around camp by Chip Kelly back in the day. And I was like, I don't think that was Miles Jack. But that was Miles Jack, who is now on the Eagles. That is a current story. I apologize for the horrendous setup on that, getting my 2 stories mixed up. But yeah, Jack was like flown in, try out. And this is what happens. Like, you know, there's a new punter for the Commanders. He knows he's not making the team. But like, you go and you punt in the preseason, and his hope is that he gets a call somewhere else. It's like, hey, we want to bring you in. And you fly there, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm on the team. Like, it is a crazy existence for these guys that, you know, try out here, work out there, and like, hey, this is the tryout that could make or break your career, and you got to do it fresh off a flight, jet lagged as hell. It is a rough life on the fringes of the NFL. You know, obviously it's a good life if you get on the right side of that fringe, even a veteran minimum contract, and even one that doesn't last your whole season. You can make by compared to what you might do otherwise. Miles Jack apparently considering going to trade school, and like, you can make a good living as an electrician or a plumber, but not as good as an NFL veteran. That NFL veteran minimum contract is not bad. Not bad at all. NBA Hall of Fame induction this weekend. One of the best classes we've ever seen. Tony Parker, Dirk Nowitzki, and Dwayne Wade, who talked about what it means to him to make the Hall of Fame.
Just same as Marquette. Doing something for the first time feel good, don't it? Like, it sounds good. But it sets the bar. You know, I'm always about setting the bar, setting the standard. I like being the first to do stuff. You know, why not, right? But it's not just for me. Because, you know, someone set a bar before me. Alonzo set a bar in Miami before me. He had 10,000 some odd points. I had to get over that, you know, and I set mine, and somebody will get over it. And that's how it should be. We should want to set the bar high and, you know, for the next generation, have something to see and something to go and try to emulate or try to accomplish. And so it means something to me that I'm the first one in this rich history of the Miami Heat. All the great players that was drafted, all the great players that have played through there. But, you know, I'm homegrown in that sense. And so it's special. It's very special. And I wear it as a badge of honor. But like I said, I don't want to be the last one. I want, you know, someone else that the Heat have drafted, you know, to be able to sit on this stage one day. And I would love to be here to be able to see them, you know, enter the Hall of Fame as the second, though.
That's cool. That's cool. I mean, obviously a guy who's did so much. I actually think, here's a hot take for you, Anthony. I think Dwayne Wade's one of the most underrated players the last 25 years in the NBA. Like, people do not realize, because of he got overshadowed by LeBron coming there, like 2006 to 2009, Dwayne Wade was the third best player in basketball.
The Flash.
Except for the times that he was hurt. But, like, he kind of obviously elevated himself there, that 06 title run. And then he gets hurt. And then by the 08 Olympics, he's back. And then he comes out in 2009. And it's like LeBron, Kobe, and D-Wade was right behind them. And then, obviously, LeBron winds up going down there. And you know, it's hard to say, like, oh, well, you know, is he actually that good? Because, you know, his usage comes down and you're playing with LeBron and you're figuring out how to, you know, kind of sacrifice to win. But, like, that dude was insanely good. Both ends of the floor, too. Arguably the best shot blocker under 6'5" in the history of the league. So congrats to him. Congrats to Dirk. Congrats to Tony. Congrats to Becky Hammon. Just a ridiculous Hall of Fame class entering this weekend. All right, we get back here on the Hoffman Show. Yes, we are coming back. We are taking you all the way up until kickoff at 7:30. We circle back to our top story of the day, getting you ready for Browns Commanders preseason kicking off tonight. By the way, did you ever find your headphones?
Yes, I did find them, actually.
Who do you think hid them? Who do we need to fight?
What were you saying?
I said, now that you've got your headphones on, who do we need to fight? Who do we think hid them? Where were they?
So Jeff Walker definitely came into the studio and took my headphones.
If you had given me one guess, 100% Jeff Walker.
Yep.
100%. All right, Jeff Walker. You come in, sometimes you just barge in, you're like, hey, I'm here. And I'm like, cool, like, what are you doing here? Which is fine. Jeff's a delight. But can you please leave my guy's headphones alone? He's a professional radio producer. He's got things to do.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you.
You're welcome.
My favorite story is, I think we were playing Cincinnati. Was it Cincinnati?
That's not what depends on the story, but maybe we were playing Cincinnati.
So Logan catches this touchdown.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was Cincinnati. Yep.
It was Cincinnati. So we put in this play, and it was like, I think we called it Hoss Juke or something like that. I can't remember what we called it in that offense, but Logan's on a seam, right? So he's our vertical threat, taking the top off the defense.
Digging out, guys.
We're talking in the week. I don't think we ever said it in the install with those guys, but they're like, listen, Logan's not even in the progression. He's taking the top off this thing. We're trying to work this little option route down. And they bust this coverage. And I mean, he is screaming wide open.
I wasn't even supposed to be on the play. They were supposed to sub somebody else in because I thought I was too slow to run this route. Just for the context here for everybody.
So he's screaming wide open. And I'm like, Matt, throw it at his back shoulder. You might hit him in stride. If you try and back shoulder him. Threw it right at him. He catches it. It was an awesome touchdown. Just the celebration afterwards was so much fun. For me, it was always fun celebrating the touchdowns with the guys that didn't score them all the time. You know,
Yeah, take that, Julio
like,
Jones.
Yeah, and I'm not, I'm saying that, but like your role for us was you did the dirty work, and when you see guys that do the dirty work get rewarded for it, that was really cool. Something I'll never forget. The caveman, man. The caveman was in there in the end zone celebrating. It was awesome.
All right, it's the Hoffman Show bonus, little burgundy and gold game day pregame action here on the Team 980. Always live as well on the free Odyssey app, and this bonus half hour, bonus 30 minutes, streaming live on YouTube as well, youtube.com/@theteam980. All right, Anthony, we've talked a lot about the starters tonight, and we can, of course, don't anticipate everyone that's listening now has been listening the whole show. If you have, salute to you. But we can certainly go back over some of what we want to see. But what we haven't had a chance to do is go deeper in the roster. So I want to get to that in a moment, too. Some names to watch second quarter and then certainly second half as well. Let's start, though, with the big names, the big items on deck, which is the offense running well. That starts with Sam Howell. It starts with the offensive line. And then, obviously, you'd like the skill position players to play along, do your part. Hit your blocks, run your routes correctly, catch the football, et cetera, et cetera. To me, the sign of a healthy offense tonight is that this team is clicking, and there's kind of a rhythm to it. It's almost intangible in that way. Like, sure, there'll be production, which is tangible. It's like yards, first downs, points, huzzah! But does it feel sharp? Do they get to the line quickly? Is there no confusion? And this is the big one, Anthony, that I think Sam has struggled with a little bit recently in camp. Does the ball feel like it's coming out quickly? Or is he just holding it, having to run around, make plays? Like, sure, I don't mind if he has to go off schedule and make a play or two here or there. That'd be kind of fun to watch, fun to see, good for him to practice. But I very much would prefer the offense to run on time, run on schedule, and that would be the most ideal outcome for me offensively tonight.
So you're looking more for, I guess, command of the offense as opposed to, like, production?
I mean, one should lead to the other, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you have command and you do the things you're supposed to do and the ball comes out on time, like, yeah, I don't want the ball to come out quickly to the wrong team. Like, oh, well, look, he threw another quick interception. That's 3 in a row. Get him back out there. Like, no, that's not what you're looking for, obviously. But I think one does lead to the other. But, like, you can have the clean process necessarily without the production. Mm-hmm. Like you can have a defensive back make a great play, but the throw was the right throw. Like it's man coverage. You throw to a guy and the defender makes a play. Yeah. You can have receivers drop balls. You can have a ball get tipped at the line of scrimmage. Like there are, you can have some kind of silly downfield penalty, like offensive line holding, drawing back a big run. That's not exactly what we're looking for in terms of efficiency, but you have what should have been a big play, and there's just a silly penalty that brings it back or something like that. I mean, honestly, even if, like, let's say Terry fumbles a ball 40 yards down the field. Not to say I don't care, but that if it comes on the 6th play of the drive and all 6 plays operated on time on target, in many ways that's a successful drive for preseason purposes, right? And I think that's why I focus on the process more than results. But, like, the whole reason you have good process is to get ultimately the best results.
Yeah. And I think also something that I'm looking for is for us to be a little aggressive. I think that's, sort of kind of taking on the personality of EB, how intense he is. And so I'm expecting, the running game, the guys to be aggressive and also forced to take some shots down the field. The play that we saw, Terry one-on-one with I forgot who it was, but they had single high safety. Every time I see a single high safety, I want to be able to look over at Terry and be like, yo, let's go up top one time. So I'm expecting
give the hand
these
signal,
guys,
whatever it is.
Exactly.
Go. Give a little pew pew. Give a little tap on the head. Give a little, rub the thigh. Whatever it is. Like
be
whatever.
aggressive. So I think that's what we're gonna. That's what I expect out of the offense tonight.
Anthony Haney's keys to the game: be aggressive. Be aggressive. Brought to you by no one. All right. Defensively, I just want a good clean fight. I just want a good clean game. Like don't get super handsy, penalties, none of that. No defensive holding inside. And I think the biggest thing, Anthony, no blown assignments. I do not want to see, like, if someone's running open in the secondary, it better be because Emmanuel Forbes got jumped on a double move, and then I will deal with the hysteria and hoopla of people saying that this dude's going to be a bust on Monday. Don't do that. That would be very dumb. That would mean you have a bad take and a very poor ability to process information. But when you talk about overall defensively, of like guys are running wide open because two guys miscommunicate, like that hasn't happened all camp. And the first time you face an offense that's not your own, like that's going to make me nervous for Tuesday, Wednesday against Baltimore in the joint practices. It's not the end of the world. I'd rather it happen to them now than in the regular season. But to me, it's like offense in many ways is the same on both sides of the ball. I just want a good, clean game. And if guys make plays, incredible. I would love the defense. Like, best case scenario, they go out and they get a turnover. Best case scenario, it comes from Chase Young. He goes out there, gets a strip sack, something like that. Like, goes up, makes one of these freaky plays where he intercepts a ball on a screen or a quick throw. He gets his hands up and comes down with it. Like, something like that would be awesome. But I just want to see good communication, do your job, be where you're supposed to be. And if you do that, I think the Commanders' defense is going to be good enough to get off the field quickly, and the main guys' nights will be over fairly quickly.
Yeah, along those lines, I'm hoping for a fast, quick start as well. Jack Del Rio, that's what, he pointed to, like, for the defensive focus this year, a fast start and also trying to, get some turnovers. So if the guys can play sound, I'm looking for the guys just to play sound, communicate effectively. You talk about, giving up a big play. We haven't really seen that much the last couple of seasons. The first two seasons in the system, we had blown plays after blown assignments. Like,
I mean, there's a clear line of delineation. Yeah. It's William Jackson III.
Exactly.
Like, I hate that. And by the way, William Jackson III apparently visiting the Ravens. So he might, if they sign him, he would be at the Joints next weekend, which would be spicy. But, like, I hate to do that to William, but, like, William Jackson III is the line of delineation. When that dude was here, there was miscommunications all over the place and busted coverages. And when he left, it stopped almost immediately.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's more so what I'm expecting out of these guys. Communicate effectively, like you already said, and just play sound. Know what your job is. Go out there, do it, and then get off the field.
So here's what I want to do next. I want to go first string, second string, third string. One offense, one defense. We're each going to pick a player, why they're the guy we want to highlight, and it could be something about their playing time that tells us something. It could be we want him to make a play. We are scared about this. Whatever it is, we're each going to take one guy from each layer of the depth chart, and then if we have time, we'll throw in one wild card. You get to pick one other random guy to talk about. But first string, second string, third string, one offense, one defense. We will do that next, and that should set us up for kickoff at 7:30. One more segment to go on this bonus Burgundy and Gold Game Day edition of the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Team 980.
We call him Mr. Chick. You might have heard of him, Chick Hernandez. Welcome to Take a Minute. All right, final 15 minutes here on the Hoffman Show. Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Anthony, I'm sorry to do this on the air, but inside baseball, do we have a hard out, or are we playing a wild guessing game of when Nick Ashew decides to break on BetMGM tonight so we can join him live in progress next?
We get out when we get out.
Okay, we can do that. Following us, you will get Nick and company for BetMGM tonight on the network, so they'll have you updated on all of the games. But what I want to do right now, I think this is a fun way to wrap up the show. Like, who are we really watching tonight? I want to pick one player on the first string offense, one player on the first string defense, second string, third string. And then if we have time to throw out a couple more bonus ones, we will. But that's how I want to end the show tonight, Anthony. Really the guys that we think kind of are players of the game at all points in the game. I'll let you go first. Who's your first string offense guy that you are really watching tonight? And are you going to cheat and take Sam Howell?
No, I'm not going to cheat and take Sam Howell. To be honest, I wasn't even thinking about Sam Howell. I was thinking about somebody else that you have your eyes on, and that's Chris Paul. But I'm not going to go with Chris Paul. I'm going to go with Sam Cosmi, another guy that's in the trenches. I want to see how the transition from tackle to guard works for him. And now that he's actually in a game-like situation, let's see what it looks like at guard.
Yeah, no, that's a great call. I mean, look, the obvious answer is Sam Howell. The most important guy on the team is the starting quarterback on any team, and certainly this team is no exception. And now he's going to have a little bit extra on his plate. It is raining in Cleveland, so we have definitive extracurriculars to worry about in terms of the conditions. Like, how is his ball handling? How is he taking snaps? Pressure's on Nick Yates, by the way. I'll say it in honor of the Rooster. Like, he's had some snapping issues in training camp. What happens when the ball is wet? These are things that I'm sure they'll worry about during the season. And then occasionally they'll do like a wet ball drill or something like that in training camp. But to my knowledge, they haven't done any of this yet. So they just got unlucky. It's bad weather. Does that change the game plan at all tonight in terms of how long you want to play these guys and what you can do offensively? I think TBD. But I kind of would just like say, hey, we're going to do what we planned on doing and see how well Sam can execute it. And so that's on him. But I will say Chris Paul is probably my guy because, again, I think that he can wrap up. I mean, I guess if the Baltimore practices go sideways, it could always open it back up. But to me, if he plays well tonight and the offensive line holds up and he's a big part of it, I don't know necessarily why you'd mess around and do anything other than give Sadiq Charles some reps with the ones for cross-training purposes. I think Chris Paul can kind of lock up that job tonight with a really, really strong performance. That's a tough bar to hit, but we'll see what he can do in the rain in Cleveland. All right, first-string defensive player that you are most interested in tonight.
You already know all eyes will be on Chase Young. All eyes will be on him. Can he get back to, the production he had as a rookie, the impact plays he was making? I'm expecting him to, at least go out there and make some type of play in the limited reps that he'll have. And I think that'll be a good sign that Chase Young is back.
Yeah, no, I want to see how explosive he is. I want to see how he's moving. I want to see how confident he is, by the way, on wet turf in the rain. Like, is he skittish all of a sudden? Does he look like the guy that he looked like last year where it's like, okay, he knows what his job is and he's doing it, but there's not this tenacity and ferociousness that it was kind of his hallmark at Ohio State. My guy is Jamin Davis because I want to see, for one, how much he plays. Like, is he actually with the ones? He's had a nice little, like, Logan was very impressed with the linebackers as of late. I mentioned it on the podcast on Wednesday, Thursday, whatever day that was that we last did one. And so Jamin has been with the one some. He's been with the two some. They've got all these different sub packages. Is he in when they're in nickel? Is he in when they're in dime? Is he in when there's just two linebackers? Is he in when there's three? Is he in when there's one? Like, what does it look like? And so I am very, very, very curious to see not just what Jamin Davis looks like from a production standpoint, but how long he is in the game and who he is playing with. Because to me, that is going to be the clearest sign yet of what he truly is. He's been in this ramp-up period, and he's obviously got the legal issues looming. So is it something where they're preparing for life without him? That could be a continuous thing tonight, or it could just be like, all right, he's finally up to speed after missing time and due to the minor knee surgery that he had. Easy for me to say, it's not my knee. Minor knee surgery that he had in the offseason. So Jamin, super high, number one guy. I'm interested on the first string defense. All right, second string offense. Second string offense. Who you got?
I'm going to go with De'Ami Brown. He's having a strong camp. And this is year 3 for him. He's shown flashes last year where he can be super dynamic, be that, deep threat that the Commanders
He had the Tennessee game. That is what you mean by he showed flashes last year.
A flash did. If you want me to simplify.
He had 2 flashes in one game. That is technically flashes.
Okay, that's fair. But yeah, how consistent can he be? Again, he's had a strong camp, so let's see if that can transition over from, practice to the game-like situations, and then we'll see where it goes from there. Because he has some people knocking on his door.
For sure. And I'm debating whether I want to go with one of those or let's give some love to Big Ugly. Byron Pringle is the guy that I was considering.
Yep.
But I'm going to go Mason Brooks because I'm not entirely convinced he's not the second best guard behind Sam Cosmi on the team.
Okay.
He's had such a good camp. What does it look like in a game? He's young, but he's scrappy. He was a priority free agent for them. And what happens if he just goes out and messes around and is really, really, really good? Do you give him a chance to compete with Chris Paul and Sadiq Charles to start at left guard? Probably not at this point, but that dude's been so good. Like, what does it look like? I think that's super interesting.
Too, everybody's asking about it, and Ron was like, he still has a lot of room for improvement. So.
Of course he does.
Yeah.
But so does Chris Paul and so does Sadiq Charles.
Exactly.
And it's just who's the best of the bunch. All right, that's my second string offensive guy. Byron Pringle is super interesting. Tight ends, we probably should mention. Chris Rodriguez. I kind of count him as a second stringer because I see like Robinson and Gibson as almost co-starters, even though Robinson's obviously the main running back. But those are some other guys I was thinking about. All right, second string defense. Who's the most interesting guy to you?
Most interesting is Percy Butler. And that might surprise you. But I've seen him in a ton of packages. I've seen him on the goal line. I've seen him in their base when they had 5-6 DBs out there. So I want to see what, I guess, the defensive coaching staff has seen out of Percy. The growth, this is his second year. I think they want to play him a little bit more. And I think they understand that if you're going to have Cam down more in the box, you got to have another person that can be, over top in the post alongside Derek Forrest. So let's see if, Percy Butler can go out there and, make some impact plays.
Yeah, I think that's a great call. I've talked about Quan Martin quite a bit already today, but he's got to be the right answer here. Where does he play? How much does he play? Is he in the post? Is he in the box? Is he, in more of a nickel type of role? Is he outside at all? Like, who knows where they can line that dude up? So he, for all the obvious reasons. The other one I'll mention real quick, I know we're supposed to pick one, but it's just us. It's you and me, unless you got objections. And my name's on the show, so
you're all good.
I'm going to say Khaleke Hudson. He had a great game against Dallas last year. He's at a really good camp, and he just plays a position they don't use a lot. He plays that strong side linebacker spot where if they have 3 linebackers on the field, he winds up getting some run. And I think there's going to be packages where he's on the field this year as a 1. But he's definitely a backup guy, and the question is, if Jamin were to miss time for whatever reason, could he actually play that will linebacker spot? And so I am very, very curious to see Khaleke Hudson. Can he continue the trajectory he's been on since that Dallas game and play really well in what's a big spot for him in an important preseason game? All right, third stringers, second half. These are the guys that are going to play the most, so it feels sense. And I'm going to say third string and fourth string. Anybody that is going to play in the second half and play big minutes. That's who we're talking about here, Anthony. Offensively, who are you looking at?
So I'm looking at Cosmere Allen. I think I want to see what he can do in the return game. I think he can be a little bit more dynamic than I'm blanking on
Dax Milne.
Dax Milne.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what he'll do in the return game, but also what he can do as a receiver, because I think if you can use him as a gadget player, Curtis Samuel, he's probably going to get most of those reps. Antonio Gibson probably also playing that role. But Cosmere Allen, if you give him the ball in space, who knows what he can do. So I'm excited to see what he does with his opportunity.
I think that's probably the right answer. I'm definitely interested in if someone can win a 4th running back job and if that guy can make the team. So that's Jonathan Williams, that's Jared Patterson, that's Derek Gore. But I'm gonna throw a guy out that we haven't really gone down this route yet. What about Braden Daniels? He was a 4th round pick. Your 4th round pick should make your football team. This dude has not played at a level that says I deserve to make the football team so far in training camp. And part of it is because he's playing a position that I don't think he's suited to play in the NFL. He can prove everybody that has said, hey, dude, you're a guard, wrong if he plays well at tackle tonight. And at least put one notch in the belt. It's not like he's going to make the team tonight. It's not like he's going to prove everything, that he's actually a future Hall of Fame tackle or even a starting caliber tackle or even a below average starting tackle tonight with one good half of football. But he can at least extend his leash at tackle to see if he can play it there and make a case to be on the team. Because right now, 1, he screams move to guard, and 2, you got a bunch of other dudes like Brooks that I talked about, like Jared Jones-Smith, that have played far better at guard than he has at tackle so far in camp. All right, that leaves us with our third string defensive player. Who's the guy that'll be playing the second half on defense that you want to take a look at?
I think you guys mentioned him earlier, Andre Jones Jr.
Yeah.
I think if he can go out there and, consistently do what he's been doing throughout camp, because I think he's already in a tough situation where he's in a crowded defensive line room.
Mm-hmm.
But he can still go out there and possibly earn his way onto our official roster, 53-man roster, projected anyway.
Yeah. We'll
It's
do that
not
on
on it
Monday.
right
Yeah, and he's can run. Like, he played special teams at Lafayette, which is obviously the way that you get right into the cockles of Brian Mitchell's heart, is being a special teams guy at Louisiana Lafayette. But he did that. And so can he have the pass rush juice that, like, Ashaka Toney was supposed to have, and also be useful on special teams? Like, he could make the team for sure. I'm going to go with Kendall Smith. Where's number 40, safety? I don't know how the hell he makes the team because they're so deep at safety. But he was really impactful at Illinois. Like, he played with all the other good Illinois dudes, including Quan Martin. And that secondary was nasty, and he was a big part of it. So he's had a good little camp. What can he do on the back end? That'll be my guy. I would say also keep an eye on Abdullah Anderson, big number 92. I've mentioned him a couple times this week. And William Bradley Kings has been in this team's camp the last couple of years, and right on the edge of making the roster. Again, I think he's just kind of stuck because Jones and KJ Henry are ahead of him, but he could definitely be a guy that makes a couple plays tonight and tries to make things interesting as a guy who also plays some special teams. All right, that'll do for the Hoffman Show because kickoff, well, at least it's scheduled for about 100 seconds from right now. We'll see if they start on time as I make my way over to my couch. Anthony makes his way home to watch, and we will talk about it all on Monday. Full recap of the game. Thoughts from all your favorites. We will do a 1st and 10 on Monday. If you remember that from football season last year, we'll hit the ground running right at 4 o'clock with 10 observations from the game. We'll also do our roster projection updated based off tonight. Training camp practice on Monday as well, so we'll have our pick 6 at 6. We will see you then. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to the Hoffman Show on YouTube at the Team 980, on the Team 980, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Team 980 and the Odyssey app.